Salutations! Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Reneé Hunter Vasquez, joined as always by my co-host, my husband, and my brother.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
Hi, I'm Travis Hunter.
This week, we're recording live from the Food House discussing the 2007 supernatural horror film, The Mist. This film was written and directed by Frank Darabont based on the novella by Stephen King. With his own different ending in mind, Darabont refused to change it to King's original ending even when offered more money. The result gives us an adaptation that is at once faithful to its source material and unique in its bleak themes. Melding realistic horror with supernatural creatures, The Mist makes us question what is truly scary. So, what did you guys think about The Mist the first time you saw it?
I don't remember exactly the first time I seen this movie, but I remember when I first seen it, I loved it right away. I was like, this is great. You know what I mean? Plus, it's got the Punisher in it. So I was like, shit. It's like, man, that's already. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen this movie quite a few times, and I did enjoy watching it for the show. I don't know what it is, but it is one of those movies that I enjoy no matter what's going on. You know what I mean? If it's on and I'm just passing by and catching glimpses of it on the TV, or if I'm sitting down and watching it, or if we're just kind of having dinner or whatever, I can still sit there and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because I'm of the same mind, and you wouldn't think that of a movie that's this bleak.
Yeah.
No,
They're like, you want to watch The Mist? Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I remember my first, I guess, introduction to The Mist was when we were on a family road trip and we listened to the radio drama.
Uh-huh.
And that's very riveting on the road because of certain things that happen in the movie. But I remember kind of falling in love with the story, and then I didn't really know anything about... At this time, I was like 16. It's 2007.
Right.
So I'm not like, oh, Frank Darabont is
Yeah.
But in retrospect, it's so like awesome that Darabont did this film, especially when you consider The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
They're more grounded in
reality.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's nice to see him take on something that's a bit more supernatural and ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did a great job. I've always loved this movie.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad about the majority of the movie that is not the ending, because it always gets overshadowed when people talk about it.
It does. It does. But the ending wouldn't be that impactful if everything leading up to it didn't, suck you in so much.
That's fair.
So I guess that still speaks to it, even though it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't. Nobody really talks about that part.
I was like, remember that scene where they're just like, the ending?
Yeah.
I don't remember the first time I saw this either. Again, like you said, I had to be a teenager as well, but I loved it since the first time I saw it. I still love it. Like you said, John Paul, I'll watch it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Ari, our 9-year-old, was like, are y'all ever going to do an episode on The Mist?
Like, yeah.
Get off my back. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. But no, it's great. I feel like anybody, whether you like it or you don't, it's going to impact you. That like the ending, again, it's a lot.
To say the least.
It's a lot.
I feel like we had to have seen it in the theater, because there's no way that...
I feel like we did. But I honestly can't remember. I mean, I can't remember past 2020 at this point. But
what year is it?
yeah, I don't even know. But like I had said at the top, there's a whole new ending to this film. So even if you were familiar with the novella, which is great on its own, this takes a hard left. And we'll obviously talk about that when we get to it.
I did reread portions of the novel, but I'm sure you'll take the reins on the differences. And
I did reread it for just such an occasion.
I want to bring up Frank Darabont again, because as you mentioned in your intro, dude was offered the chance to make this movie. I think it was for $40 million.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And they were like, but you got to change the ending.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
He's like, I'm not doing that.
And so he went, he went to the Weinsteins, but
I know, dude, when the credits rolled, when I was working on this one, I was like, oh, fuck.
yeah, I was like, God damn it. Can I enjoy anything?
Damn it.
But when he went to those sacks of shit,
Yeah.
he got it made for 18. And so way less than half.
Right.
But he got to maintain his artistic vision.
Which you have to respect that.
Right.
He wasn't going to sell out to make more than double.
Yeah. I mean, how can you... I mean, thanks, Frank.
Yeah. Thank you, Frankie D.
Frankie D. The other thing that I read was that he had wanted to make this his debut feature back in the 90s.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I guess it was always on his mind, and so he makes Shawshank.
Which is classic.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, now I'm going to make The Mist. And then he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll make The Green Mile.
Another classic.
Another classic. And then from the strength of those two movies, Stephen King is like, look, when you want to make The Mist, you've got it. It's yours.
Yeah.
Well,
And
So
here we are.
yeah.
So I guess that because see, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I get there's a lot goes into the movie process and all that. But if he already did those other two movies, why wasn't he allowed to just make the movie he wanted? You know what I mean? Why would he instead of having to go somewhere else?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I'd say first, really probably the most important thing, because you already got the blessing of the author.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be financing. It's people in big studios that are like, look, we want to work with you. We'll make this movie, but that ending isn't Warner Brothers ready or whatever.
Oh, fuck that, man.
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I love that he stuck to his guns because, wow.
Oh, yeah. It's bold.
Yes. Now, before we turn our congregation against this film, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Podmortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, then let's go to the store. So first of all, we get thunder rumbling over the logo, which we love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the sounds of the storm continue along with jazz music as we see David Drayton, played by Thomas Jane, painting in his office. Shout out to Thomas Jane because
man,
that dude, I don't think he gets his due, but I think he's just great.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I was thinking about 1922.
Yes.
Dude can turn, and in this film, dude turns in performances.
He really does.
But he does not get that credit.
Nope. But anyway, he's working on a painting of the gunslinger from the Dark Tower series, but very prominently behind the piece he's working on, we see the painting of the cover of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so awesome. I did get a little background on this because I'm like, why is this happening? I mean, thank you.
Why?
I'm looking at gift horse in the mouth, but apparently Frank Darabont is really good friends with the poster artist Drew Struzan. And I guess he had him design a poster for The Mist. It didn't get chosen, but he kind of wanted to do a little shout out to him. So all these paintings are done by Drew Struzan.
That's so cool.
Nice.
And he did the original poster for The Thing. Like, he's a prolific poster designer.
That's insane.
But I thought, because at first I was like, well, maybe there's some kind of thematic overlap, and there kind of is.
There is a little bit,
but it's really just a shout out to a friend.
Yeah.
Also, the other paintings nod to Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes.
The Low Men from the Dark Tower series,
Right.
and It.
Yeah.
He did the poster for Pan's Labyrinth.
That's so cool.
And another fucking little sidebar situation. But through Guillermo del Toro, Frank Darabont found the special effects house for this movie. So it's another little nod.
Nice.
That's crazy.
So before you go on,
Okay.
like I told you guys earlier before the show.
Uh-huh.
So because of this, it was mainly Roland, but everything else I seen, I'm going to start with a 10 for this movie.
Just because you saw
And
Roland?
then-
Because I love the Dark Tower.
In your defense, that poster is a better adaptation than the film we got of
No.
the Dark Tower.
We won't talk about that. Because all those posters were magnificent.
Yes.
That shit was, and I already loved the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. You're just going to subtract what you don't like. Okay.
That's an interesting take.
So when we get to it, I'll give my reasoning and whatever. And
All
then
right,
at the
Simon
end,
Cowell. Yeah, let's see.
I'm intrigued.
But also, I know we were talking about the paintings a lot. I appreciated that he's adding highlight onto the rose.
Yeah.
In every other film, they are rubbing a dry paintbrush on the canvas, and it is super annoying.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. But suddenly the lights go out, and we cut to David standing with his wife, Steph, played by Kelly Collins Lentz, and his son, Billy, played by Nathan Gamble, and they're standing at a big window watching the storm. Over Billy's head and between his parents, we get a really subtle title that says The Mist. I thought it was really cool.
Yes.
Armed with blankets and pillows, they go down into the basement, but back upstairs in David's office, his work still sits on the easel, and part of a tree comes crashing through the window, knocking it and the other paintings down.
Fucking poltergeist style.
Yeah.
And it fades to black. The next morning, Billy runs out into the yard, followed by David, who's holding his ruined, waterlogged painting. Steph points out that their food is going to spoil, and David says he'll go to the store to get groceries. He tells her there's no way he can save the painting, and he's going to have to ask for an extension before he just throws it at the downed tree.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you don't want to keep it?
No.
Like, as a reference or anything?
We're starting from scratch. But we see the guilty tree completely uprooted and knocked down. David plans to go to the hardware store to close up the window, and Steph realizes that the tree was one that his grandfather planted.
Mm-hmm.
David confirms this, but he says it's just stuff. As long as they're safe, that's all that matters. Billy comes running toward them and tells them they have to see the boathouse. It's been smashed. They follow him, and this is 100% true.
Yeah.
They do not have a boathouse anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
I learned from the commentary that the roof of the boathouse was CG.
The hell?
Yeah, like they do a lot of.
I didn't even notice.
No,
I think
I didn't at all.
That's the thing for me is that when you integrate it properly, it's seamless.
Yeah.
But there are some moments in this film, I will say, that are very 2007.
But boathouse flattened by a tree. Steph and David immediately identify it as one that they've been asking their neighbor to cut down because it's been dead for 3 years. As they look at the boathouse, Steph notices a huge, like wall of mist coming over the lake. And David tries to explain it away. There's been mist on the lake before, but Steph points out not coming off the mountains. David's like, maybe it's two fronts meeting after the storm. And Steph's like, are you sure? And he's like, I'm not a weatherman.
Well, he's like, shit, I'm trying to make you feel better.
No,
don't second guess.
That made me laugh.
Good Lord.
He's like, look, I don't know.
Well, and the way it's coming, fuck, I would have been like, I don't know.
What is that?
I don't know.
So
dude.
we're moving, right?
Yeah.
as I was looking at it, I was like, man, I wonder if Captain Blake and his men are going to come back for their gold. But I love that shot, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
I have to get that out of the way. I did think it was very funny. I heard on the commentary that as he was sitting next to Stephen King, when Stephen King was watching it, he asked Frank Darabont, he's like, so where'd you film this in New England? And he's like, we filmed this in Louisiana. And then he was like, what the fuck?
Fooled Mr. Maine himself.
Exactly. And it looks like it.
It does.
I don't know how you make a region look like another region, but they did that shit.
But he did it. Frankie D. But he tells Steph to get Billy ready and he'll take him to the store with him. But first, he's going to go talk to their neighbor. Steph tells David that all their neighbor's going to say is sue me and that maybe they should. David says he's not going to punch him in the nose or anything. He's had his fill of property disputes with him after the first time. He's just going to get his insurance information. So right off the bat, we're like, there's bad blood here.
Got the history built in.
Right,
Yeah.
but damn, his tree just smashed my boathouse. I'd be super pissed.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that thing like crushed my boathouse.
And you can't even be like, oh, it was a storm.
Well,
Shit
no.
happens. We've been telling you for years.
yeah.
No, I'd be mad.
Could you imagine having that shitty of a relationship with your neighbor?
Yeah, that would suck.
That would really suck.
Yeah.
The relationship I have with my neighbor is to never speak to them. And I like to keep it that way. So this just is a horror story of itself.
Yeah.
But David walks next door to find his neighbor, Brent Norton, played by Andre Brower, cussing at his chainsaw for not starting. And Andre Brower is great in everything that I've seen him in. I've loved him since Primal Fear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was
That's
young as fuck
right.
in that. Yeah.
I forgot he was even in
Yeah,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
I did read that he got the part because his agent called Frank Darabont and he was like, hey, Andre Brower read the script and he's very interested. And so he got the part. That was it. That's how much people love this dude.
That's smart.
I will say, though, the scratching of his head as he's looking at the chainsaw is very theatrical. I think the people in the back of the house see that you're very confused.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand.
No.
But he finally notices David and is like completely unaffected when David brings up the boathouse, which I would be seeing red.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, the tree fell or whatever. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
You'd wake up with just bloody.
Why am I being arrested? But David just coolly asks that they trade insurance information, and Norton laughs, musing that his insurance guy is just going to love him today. David follows Norton's gaze and sees that Norton's classic car has been crushed by another fallen tree. He offers sincere condolences, and Norton agrees to go find his insurance guy's number and bring it by.
Things are tough all over, Cupcake.
Yeah.
I really respect David in this moment.
He's like, oh,
Yeah,
man.
he's like, man, that car was cherry. He could have
Yeah.
been like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
He handled it so well. And I was like, man, this is
a good
kind of,
dude.
it's the building blocks of
Yeah.
showing how good of a dude David is.
Without him saying, I'm a good man. But David thanks him and turns to leave his property, but Norton calls after him asking if he has any plans to go into town today. And I'd be like, well, I guess it's me and you today.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're stuck with each other. But
Right, sure, buddy. Let's go.
But we get a close-up of David's mailbox that reads The Draytons as he, Norton, and Billy head off for town. They pass several power truck companies, and they propose that maybe they'll be able to get the power back on. Norton finds that the local radio stations are out, but they are getting a signal from Portland.
I will say, dude is making himself comfortable fucking with the radio. I'm like, don't fuck with my levels now.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He really was.
You were literally enemies last night.
Yeah.
Right? This morning, really. But Billy draws their attention to several military vehicles zooming past them, and Norton identifies them as the military guys from up on the mountain. They're in charge of something called the Arrowhead Project.
Already don't like it.
No. He asks David, as a local, what do they do up there? And David says they do missile defense research, but Norton cites a woman at the laundromat who says they have a crashed flying saucer with frozen alien bodies up there. And David knows who he's talking about, and they kind of laugh as more military vehicles zoom
Right.
past them.
So seeing this large of a military presence makes me very nervous.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I do appreciate the two of them having a moment together
Yeah.
of levity. It's just nice to see them sharing a laugh, but also knowing what's to come is a little...
Yeah.
But they pull up to the store, and David notices that he still has no service on his phone. He says he's going to the payphone to call Steph, but Billy asks if he can go inside with Norton. David agrees as long as he'll hold Norton's hand. Norton's fine with this, and David gives them the grocery list. They head over to the store, and David goes over to the payphone.
Now, we just, like you said, we just hated each other.
We're new cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to let you take off with my kid.
No, you're
Well,
going to the
even-
payphone with me.
No, yeah.
Even in the book, like, he still obviously doesn't like Norton. Like, they're kind of on thin
Right.
ice. Like, new thin ice. Let's be cool with each other right
Right.
now. But him holding Billy's hand makes David like, maybe he is a good guy
Right.
in the book.
And instead in the movie, they're like, you hold his hand.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. 'Cause
different.
he does. I was like, damn.
Because
goddamn.
Billy just does it because he's been taught you don't just
Right.
go across the street, and Norton lets it happen. And so David's like, okay.
Maybe he's not such an asshole.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't him telling
No.
this man to hold his child. Whatever.
That moment is a little, it robs the character out of it. But this is one of the most faithful adaptations, aside from the ending, that I've ever seen.
I mean, there are literal lines.
Yeah?
Like, yeah, he did an excellent job. But back at the payphones, they don't work
Yeah.
either. So David goes into the grocery store called the Food House.
Yeah, I was a little.
They're so creative here in Maine.
But David greets a cashier, Sally, played by Alexa Davalos, and says that they're really busy. Sally agrees. Half the staff didn't show up and the power's out. The generator's only good for keeping the food cold. So, like, they're doing everything by hand,
Right.
basically.
No good.
No.
I do want to say very quickly, I heard in the commentary, Alexa Davalos, her mother went to high school with Frank Darabont. And so he said that he's known her since she was 18 months old.
Wow.
So it's got to be pretty crazy to cast her in a movie.
Yeah.
But pretty cool.
But David asks if she's available to babysit so he and Steph can have a date night later in the week, and she's down. So we can kind of see, we've already learned that David's a local.
Right.
Like, everybody knows everybody, basically.
That small town feel.
Yeah.
Right. But he goes over to the assistant manager, Ollie Weeks, played by Toby Jones, who tells him that everyone's stocking up and they've been slammed since they opened and no one's in a very good mood. As if to prove this point, he greets Mrs. Carmody, played by Marcia Gay Harden, as she enters the store. He's like, good morning. And she's like, well, with lines like these, I don't know how good it is. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like I just said,
Cool.
good morning.
Yeah.
It's,
Awesome.
It's like when someone asks you how you are, you're supposed to say, I'm good. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to be like, well, yesterday. Let it go.
But Ollie and David kind of share a look. He goes over to find Billy and Norton, who can't decipher Steph's writing on the list. And David lets him off the hook and tells him to go get his own supplies and they'll meet at the checkout line. Norton is like, bet. He grabs his little basket and starts to leave, but stops to sincerely thank David for helping him out today.
I thought that was very nice.
Yeah.
He was, man, back like again with his fucking radio messing with. I feel like he's getting too comfortable. He's like, man, your wife's handwriting looks like shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you better play it cool. You still need a ride back home.
We are new cool.
Yes.
I get it was a joke, but
Yeah.
it was like, come on,
like,
dude.
don't-
Yeah.
Well, David's just like, yeah. It's trash. But as they shop, Billy asks if David and Norton are friends now, and David says friends might be stretching it a little, but they're not mad at each other anymore, and that's a start. They get in line as Private Jessup, played by Sam Witwer, enters the store with 2 other uniformed men. Now, I'm sure this man is very nice.
Right.
Are you about to be mean?
I'm not. He looks like a vampire.
He looks, yes.
I was like, here's
I
our
was-
villain. Like, immediately.
I was thinking more like a mannequin head or something. Like he like he's just
said
like
I was
really.
gonna-
Yeah.
I was watching for you, and then I just got flanked from the other side by JP.
No, I mean not like he's like I don't know.
You
he's
mean
like
he's chiseled?
chiseled? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like,
He is chiseled.
So maybe it
I'm
is a
like,
compliment.
What the hell? Yeah, no, it's
It's
like,
an odd
it's like,
delivery
oh.
of a compliment.
Yes.
We'll call it a compliment.
I feel like I will say one thing about Sam Witwer is everything he pops up in, he's pretty captivating as a character, actor.
Right.
Because I remember him on Dexter. I don't know if you recall.
No.
He pops up on Dexter as a suspect for a thing.
Yeah,
and
he
he's,
did it.
No. That's what they thought. But he's like fucking brilliant in this like little short role.
He just looks like a villain. I don't know.
Well, he was pretty bad on that.
But he tells his 2 friends to get what they need and he'll get them a spot in line. But while he's talking to them, him and Sally kind of share a smile. As he walks by, he tells Mrs. Repler, played by Frances Sternhagen, good morning. And I love this old lady. Like,
Fantastic.
she's so great. But Billy tells her good morning and she greets him by name. Again, this small town feel.
First and last.
Yeah. Billy Drayton. But she asks David how they fared in the storm, and he tells her about the tree going through the window, and Billy is happy to loudly fill her in on the fact that
Yeah.
Mr. Norton's tree smashed their boathouse.
I'm like, Billy, shut
Dude,
up.
this is real kid shit. Like, this,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Because fucking
Read the room, Billy.
Norton's right there and
He's
you get
right
a
next
shot
to
of him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, David sheepishly looks over like, kids, am I right? But Norton is staring over at the glass windows at the front of the store as a military police vehicle pulls up.
I do want to point out they discussed how they filmed all these interior, exterior situations, and it's very interesting to me, so I just want to get it front loaded so we never have to talk about it again. But it's very interesting because as you see them going into the store before, like with the pharmacy,
Right.
Yeah.
they filmed that practically in a real grocery store parking lot. And that's a real store that they found in Louisiana. And Frank Darabont loved it so much that he had the interior replicated.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
And so it looks exactly like that on the inside at the real store. But
That's crazy.
Barry, the like insane thing is if you get a shot shooting into the parking lot, it was probably from the day when they were on location. But if you get a shot inside the store looking towards the windows, it's a set.
You wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
No. And it's a painting of a parking lot.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of.
I
if you
never-
look at it. It's like,
I never saw it.
I never saw it until Frank told me.
Frankie D.
Yeah.
But as Mrs. Repler, with the help of Hattie, played by Susan Watkins, drops some science about school funding, David watches the MP, played by Eamon Joseph, walk inside, scan the store, and then head toward the back.
that old lady was spitting.
She was going off. As Mrs. Repler continues to talk, Amanda Dunphy, played by Laurie Holden, smiles at David and he smiles back. Now, we've already heaped a bunch of praise on Laurie Holden when the Horror Queers had us over
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
on their show for Silent Hill, but she's great.
She's fantastic.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just have to say it again.
I literally wrote down, it's an in joke from whenever we were on there. I was like, it's Officer Sexy
It's
from.
Officer Sexy.
But I love her in this. I loved
Yeah.
her in
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I did want to make a point of the fact that she's one of many Walking Dead cast members.
Yes.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And all it does is it just reminds me of how bad AMC fucked Frank over.
Yeah.
Not to be a downer, but
Until next time.
yeah, we're just going to end it here.
We're done. But everyone's attention is drawn to the windows as police cars and a fire truck race by with sirens blaring. Billy immediately asks if his mom is okay, and David's like, she's fine. The manager...
It's like, how the fuck do I know? I'm with you.
I'm not a weatherman. The manager, Bud, played by Robert Trevailer, tells Sally to mind what she's doing, and she gets back to work. David overhears the MP telling the three privates that their leave has been canceled. He's going next door to the pharmacy, but they're to meet him at his Jeep in 5 minutes. That would scare me.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen how many military vehicles go by and now emergency vehicles, and now this dude's like, oh no, leave's canceled.
Yeah, we need you.
What?
What's happening? I might walk over and be like, I know I have no rank, but what the fuck's going on?
What's going on, though?
David Drayton, poster artist, man about town. Oh, what's going on over?
I'm a local. You can trust me. But the privates are all pissed. But suddenly a siren starts loudly blaring and everyone's attention goes back to the windows. Suddenly, Dan Miller, played by Jeffrey DeMunn, comes running through the parking lot toward the store. Another actor that's great in everything he's in.
Yeah, and if it's Frank Darabont,
he's
Jeffrey DeMunn.
He's going to show up. Blood has dried from his nose, down his face, and his shirt. He keeps glancing backward like he's being chased. Sally recoils in horror away from the window. Finally, Dan makes it inside and yells the words that set everything in motion. Something in the mist. Something in the mist took John Lee. Unrest immediately begins amongst the crowd, and David scoops Billy up. Dan screams at them to shut the doors, and once they do, he tells everyone not to go out there. Something in the mist took John Lee, and he could hear him screaming. The sirens continue, and everyone stares out the window in fear. One man is like, fuck this, I'm leaving. Dan screams in protest, but the man pushes his way through the crowd, out the door, and runs into the parking lot. The mist is advancing with super speed now, and everyone watches as the man makes it to his car and wrestles with getting his keys in the door. Those keys should have been out. Should have been out before you walked up.
You know which one is your car key.
Yeah.
Right. But the mist quietly envelops him, and there's a moment of silence before we hear the man start screaming.
So, first of all, very frightening.
Oh yeah. It just turns so fast. Yeah.
I did want to make mention of that amazing shot across the parking lot as the mist.
Yeah.
It's so cool looking. And you get a shot of King's Pharmacy.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably
Frank.
nudged him.
Yeah.
That's you. But everyone who had kind of stepped outside to watch rushes back in. And Jim, played by William Sadler, you guys remember Dwight from Roseanne?
Yes.
That's all I
Yes.
see when I see him. But he shuts the door and they go back inside. David holds Billy as he cowers, and Ambrose, played by Buck Taylor, suggests it's a pollution cloud or a chemical explosion. There's a moment of silence as they stare out the windows before Mrs. Carmody offers up, "It's death. Thanks."
Appreciate it.
Just then, the building begins to shake like there's an earthquake. Everyone drops to the ground, screaming as light fixtures and pieces of the ceiling fall down on them.
Typically, in higher budget films, what they'll do is they'll attach the set to a gimbal and shake the shit out of it, for lack of a better term.
That's a technical term.
Yes, I believe that's in industry. But what they did for this, because their budget was so low, is they did everything practically. They shook the camera. They had people in the shelves shaking them.
Oh, shit.
They had like the light fixtures on strings and they were moving them.
That's
because
so cool.
They couldn't afford it any other
Yeah.
way. And they did it in one take, and they didn't tell the actors exactly what was going to happen.
Shit.
Yeah.
So, like, look, just freak
this
out.
might- and there was this dude, I forgot, this is the funniest part to me. It's a friend of Frank Darabont's. He's like, hey, I got some big speakers. Sorry. I've got some big speakers and I can play like a loud rumble if you want. And he's like, oh, fuck yeah. Let's do it. And so they do it and don't tell the actors it's going to happen. So them freaking out is to the sound, to the thing.
They're horrified.
Yeah, but it's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's the take we see is the one take they did.
Oh,
That's,
nice.
that's really cool.
They said they did a few pickups like in the aisle of items and stuff,
Yeah.
but the actors, first take.
That's awesome. Because it works so well.
It
I never
does.
would have known that.
Not at all.
But Ambrose insists again that one of the mills blew up as everyone rises back to their feet. Ollie asks if everyone is okay, and Bud insists that everyone just stay inside. A character credited as Woman with Kids at Home, played by Melissa McBride, speaks up and says she can't stay here. She's got to get home to her kids, hence her name. Melissa McBride is great. Back when The Walking Dead was good, her and Michonne were my favorite characters.
Hard same.
Yeah, she's chef's kiss.
Yeah.
And she gets maybe, 2 minutes of screen time here?
Maybe.
And one of the most memorable performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I was wondering too. I was like, that was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
because you remember her.
Yeah.
The reason why the role is so small is because they literally cast out and just found a local actress from Dallas, they said. Like Melissa McBride, I think, was working in like casting and doing
Why did I get goosebumps?
Oh, I don't know. But they found her and they were like, oh yeah, she's perfect. They said she blew them away in the audition, and then she blew them away even more when they were on set.
Well, yeah, like you said, she's barely in this, but you remember her.
Oh, no, yeah.
It's crazy. But she says she can't stay. The Mrs. Carmody tells her it's the end of days. She can't go outside. Sally begs Mrs. Carmody to just stop. Norton urges everyone to relax, but the woman insists she can't. Everyone in the crowd speaks up with different reasons why it's too dangerous for her to go outside. The woman dissolves into tears as she explains that her 8-year-old daughter is watching her son. She was only supposed to be gone for a few minutes, and if she's gone for too long, her daughter's going to forget that she's babysitting. She's only 8. Dan insists that for her kids, she not go out there. Ignoring this, the woman asks if anyone will help her, if anyone will see a lady home, and everyone averts their eyes real quick.
Oh, yeah.
She asks Bud and Norton specifically, who don't answer her, and when she asks David, who's literally cradling his son, he's like, lady, I got my own kid to worry about. Fed up, she tells them that she hopes they all rot in hell. She pushes past them and goes outside, quickly disappearing into the thick mist. David walks away with Billy, who's completely sobbing and asking for his mom. He tries to comfort his son as the screen fades to black.
So I did read after Melissa McBride finished this scene, she got a standing ovation from the cast and crew.
Oh, good.
Because it's unbelievably good.
Is.
And I was blown. I see this movie a lot. I watch it all the time.
Yeah.
But I was blown away again.
Yeah. No, you are every time. And the way she says it, won't you see a lady home? Like, it's like, who wouldn't do that? Like, it makes you an asshole for being like, no, I'm not going out there. You know what I mean?
Yet everybody is like that.
Asshole, you're the one who left your kids at home alone.
Hey, well, and I understand 8 isn't old enough to be a professional babysitter, but that's old enough to watch a kid, right?
No.
Well, how old's the other kid?
Jackson's 8.
Uh-huh.
No, I would never have him babysitting another kid.
Well, if they're siblings, it's easier, right?
No.
No, they'll...
Have you never seen The Simpsons when Lisa was a babysitter? She was also 8. How did that work out?
I believe everything was resolved at the end. It is a sitcom.
I'll give you that. It was resolved at the end.
But my thing is, when they don't hear her scream, wouldn't you be like, huh? Or is it just like, Country Mac's dead, he's gone. Like, she's outside. You know, like, I feel like, because they heard the car man scream.
Yeah.
The car man did scream, but the car man was also being, the way that she disappears, it's like she's being swallowed by the mist. I still wouldn't fucking go out there, scream or no scream. I'm not seeing a lady home.
Yeah.
I'll be comfortable here. They got food and shit.
I might shout out. I might be like, you okay, woman with kids?
At home, woman with kids at home.
Thank you.
But that night, David, Billy, Sally, Amanda, Mrs. Repler, and Hattie all sit in an aisle. Billy lays in David's lap, sucking his thumb, something he hasn't done since he was 2. So, kid is regressing.
Yeah.
Mrs. Repler formally introduces David to Amanda, the new 3rd grade and special ed teacher. She keeps talking, explaining that David is an artist that does movie posters before attributing her babbling to her nerves and girl same. That I do the same thing. Ollie comes by to check on them, and when David mentions that Billy is hot, Amanda goes to get him aspirin. David asks how Dan is, and Ollie says he's calmer now, his nose has stopped bleeding, and somebody gave him a Valium. So, you know, that'll help.
I remember it being a different character running in the short story, in the novella.
I just read it, and I can't remember.
I think I remember them saying that it was a teenager, which, to me, it makes way more sense for it to be a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Because if it's a teenager, I'm like it's probably a vine or something. Yeah. Like, this kid doesn't tell him the truth.
It's scarier for sure for it to be a grown man.
Yes. So that was a good change.
Yeah. But David says he needs a blanket for Billy, and Ollie directs him to the loading dock because he's still busy checking on everybody else. Sally goes to help them clean up, so David hands Billy off to Hattie and Mrs. Repler. As David heads to the loading dock, he sees Norton coaching a small group of people to keep their wits about them so they can get more information and get out of here.
Before we talk about him fucking conspiring or whatever,
Whatever the fuck's going on over there.
I do want to make mention of the fact that David calls Billy Big Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I know it's not on the level of a Flanagan situation, but Darabont does these King references.
I was going to say it's an absolute nod to it. Like,
right, it has to be.
Undeniably.
Yeah, I think the earlier in the scene, the newspaper, which I had a question earlier, but it's kind of past the time.
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking because the power was out, how did they even print that paper? Right? Because it was out from the day before, and that was a paper for that morning, right?
They're like, well, bring out the printing press.
But it was
People have to get their news.
It said Castle Rock on there, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Again, and it was a
You
split.
love it.
It was
You
a split
love it.
second,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's awesome.
About the conspiring group, somebody says to Norton, he's like, well, how are we going to do that, my man? I'm like, is this Get Out?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Like,
It's the only black man we've ever seen.
you don't have to do that, Tarantino. Like, it's not necessary.
But David goes to the loading dock only to immediately be choked by smoke coming off the generator. He rushes over and turns it off, causing the lights to go out in the loading dock. And this motherfucker is clumsy as hell.
Yeah.
He hits himself coming out of the little area with the generator and then trips over a box and fucking lands on the floor. Like falls. It was really
He
funny.
called the box a bitch.
Yeah.
The box was a bitch.
Fair.
But back in the aisle, Amanda gets aspirin and juice for Billy as she hears Norton and Ambrose discuss the mist. A larger crowd has gathered, and Mrs. Carmody explains that it's Judgment Day, but nobody's really trying to hear it.
Like, you're going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I need you to go over there.
Please.
Back in the loading dock, David uses the light of his phone to try to find his way out because he's fucking struggling with the lights off. But before he leaves, he hears rattling on the garage door behind him. He turns to see the door slightly lift before bulging inward.
Yeah.
Something then starts violently banging at it. David runs back into the store, knocking over another shelf as he does. Back in the main part of the store, he runs into Ollie, Jim, and Myron, played by David Jensen. Ollie says they were going to check on the generator. David says he already turned it off because it was backing up, but he asked if anybody heard the weird noise inside there. Nobody did. But he says something pushed up against the door and the men seem skeptical. So David starts to get a little defensive. A bag boy, Norm, played by Chris Owen, comes over with flashlights and they all go into the loading dock to investigate.
I understand their skepticism, but David has not been a liar in the past or anything.
Ghost.
Yeah. Like, well, when we were kids, he cried wolf. And that never happened.
I don't know.
And they literally just heard a man scream bloody murder while running to his car.
Yeah.
That wasn't for fun.
I'd already be
That wasn't a
scared.
vine.
That wasn't a vine. But Jem immediately comments on the smell inside and has Myron start the generator again. It starts to smoke and stink again, and they turn it back off, surmising that the exhaust vent is plugged up on the outside of the store. Norm says if they can run it long enough to raise the door, he'll go out and fix the problem. David immediately is like, And Ollie backs him, saying that it's not a great idea. Myron sways him that he'll do it then. Norm's like, no, it was my idea. I want to go.
I mean, I understand getting credit for shit, but
Yeah.
pick your spots.
David tries to calmly explain that they don't understand. This isn't ordinary mist. If they open the door and something like what he heard gets in here, ...
Yeah.
But Jim says he's not really convinced that David heard anything at all. They don't hear anything now. And just because David's some big shot artist doesn't make him any better than the rest of them. And it's like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, did something happen? Because I'm like, what? Right away, you guys are like being
There's
dicks.
this hostility.
I'm like,
Well, Jim seemed kind in the store.
yeah.
But when they got to the loading dock, he let his ass show.
Yeah.
He let his ass breathe. But I mean, again, kind of like what we talked about on the Nostromo last week, the class war.
Yeah.
Like there's that simmering situation. So
Right.
I understand. You don't like to be condescended to.
Right, but he wasn't. Like, this is a Jim
Oh, yeah,
problem.
you're right. He wasn't.
Yeah.
I always take the side of the working class, and I just realized, wait, no, Jim is entirely in the wrong.
Yeah.
You're right. That didn't happen
Yeah,
at
it
all.
did not happen at all. And my notes are wrong, I believe.
But Ollie's like, the food will be fine without the generator. We don't even need it. But Jim puts his foot down. This is not, clearly this is not about the generator
Right.
anymore.
No.
He's going to start the motor and Norm's going to go out there. David asks if they're really going to let Norm risk his life over a generator that literally doesn't matter. And Norm is like, shut the fuck up.
It's okay. First of all, I don't give a shit what happens to you now.
Yeah.
So I just tried to save your life, but fuck you. It makes me laugh because he says, dude, shut the fuck up. And then Ollie scolds him and he remembers that he's his boss and he's like, and oop. Like he makes
on
the
the
face.
clock.
Yeah. Maybe on my time I can talk to you like that. But
But Jim piggybacks on this, telling David to count his teeth the next time he thinks he has something to say because he's sick of his bullshit. And I don't know what,
Yeah,
what bullshit he's sick of, But Ollie explains that they've lost proportion. This is a problem they can't solve after being so scared and confused inside. And he's completely right. David pleads to Norm one more time, but the kid doesn't listen. He calls David a pussy and tells Jim to raise the door.
so before we raise the door and get into that whole can of worms, no pun intended.
Right.
I did want to call out the camera work in this film.
Yes.
It's very interesting, especially considering how focused the camera work normally is in a Darabont film. They had to rush into production. I read that Darabont usually spends like 5 months on pre-production. They spent 8 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah. I guess once he found out they were willing to make it, he's like, go, 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 go.
It feels like everything was stacked against this film.
Yes.
Like nobody wanted this film to be great.
But they, against all odds.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he had worked on The Shield. He directed one episode of the TV show. And so from there, he made a bunch of contacts and he stole like a cinematographer, an editor, cameraman from The Shield.
Damn.
And so it's shot almost like The Shield. Like you get these like odd zooms at weird times and like he said straight up, he said, if it's not an action sequence, it's improvised camera work. So
Wow.
it's shot like a documentary.
All right.
Well, to me, it feel now that you said a documentary, it rings true. But it feels like we're in the store.
Yeah.
Like we're in the mix of. That's what it feels like. The camera work.
Now, and like I'd say 98% of the time it's successful for me. But whenever he met Sally at the beginning, they did a weird zoom and it's like, it's Sally. I'm like, calm down. I
don't even know her
Yeah, I don't even know her name. I had to read her fucking name tag. But so most of the time it works.
Yeah.
But Jim raises the door. They all peer out into the mist, and Jim, Myron, and Norm all begin to laugh at David when there's nothing out there. Just then, the smiles drop from their faces, and Norm turns around just in time to see a tentacle wrap around his ankle.
You hate to see it.
Norm is immediately pulled to the ground. He begs for help, but nobody goes to help him except for David, the pussy. I'd be like, I'm too petty.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You need the pussy's help?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even.
I
I'd
was
be
told to
you
shut the
guys-
fuck up.
You guys gonna help him?
Yeah. Like he's your friend.
Yeah.
But as the tentacle drags him out, David grabs onto Norm and tries to pull him back. Several other tentacles appear in the mist as Norm sobs that there's more. David asks for someone to help, but Jim and Myron are literally paralyzed with fear. Ollie drops his flashlight and rushes over, grabbing Norm's other arm and helping David pull. A tentacle like bites, up, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. I mean, it opens up.
Yeah.
A big chunk out of Norm's leg. Ollie jumps up and runs for an in case of emergency box that houses an axe. The tentacle comes back up and takes a chunk from Norm's chest. Blood sprays and Norm and David scream. Ollie breaks the glass and comes back with the axe as Myron and Jim, again, just watch. He tells David to hold Norm still as he brings the axe down, but the tentacle wins this game of tug of war and Norm is pulled, leaving Ollie to hit nothing but the floor. Norm grabs onto the garage door and David and Ollie rush forward to try to pull him back again. But then like this giant limb, I guess it's like an incognito tentacle because
It was a thick boy. I,
Two C's.
I was like, this is the super tentacle. Like
yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, how many? You know what I mean? Like what?
A lot. But this thick boy slides past them into the loading dock, causing Jim and Myron to scream and fall backward. It sniffs at bags of dog food before grabbing one, turning into a giant version of the tentacles as it raises, I'm trying to describe it, as it raises up high to the ceiling and opens the bag of dog food, raining it down on Myron and Jim. A tentacle rears up at David, and that's when David's like, I'm out. Yeah. He backs away, calling at Myron and Jim to start the generator. Instead, Ollie, jumping over the giant body of the super tentacle, does it himself. David watches as Norm is enveloped by the tentacles and pulled screaming into the mist. I guess done now.
Yeah.
The tentacles all begin to retreat, but the big one struggles to pull its thick ass back out. David grabs the axe and hacks at it. It squeals as it retreats through the closing door, but David manages to cut off the tip of it. The door finally closes.
So with that, it goes with that. This was a lot.
It was.
Yeah.
I think that for the most part, it was successful. The practical wound effects on Norm are really fucking good.
Yeah.
But sometimes those tentacles, you know that they pasted them shits on the screen.
The tentacles look a little rough.
They're all right.
There's
Could be worse, could be better.
I think that it's the thick one that comes in and they're jumping over nothing and shit. It's a little
Listen, just immerse. What did I say that time? Submerge yourself.
Yeah, submerge, yeah.
And you won't notice it.
Dive into the mist.
Dive into the
You'll
mist.
be fine.
But gasping for air and covered in Norm's blood, David turns to glare at Jim, who's immediately like, I'm sorry. He says, how the hell was he supposed to know what David meant? He should have said what he meant better. David punches Jim in the face.
Oh, yeah.
And the stomach. And continues to hit him, telling him that he got Norm killed. Did he get a good look at what he did? Ollie pulls David from Jim, telling him that this won't solve anything. And it won't, but I bet it felt good.
It looked good.
Yeah, it was satisfying.
I thought it would be poetic if he spat out a tooth.
Yeah.
and David's like, one.
He tells Jim that he got Norm killed and now he has his blood all over him. He drops to his knees, panting, moaning, and retching like panic attack mode. Ollie comforts him until David tells him he's done now. Ollie asks what's next, and David tells him to kill the generator. Ollie immediately goes to do this, and they all ignore Jim as he just continues to apologize. Myron helps Jim to his feet and defends his friend by saying, look, they didn't twist Norm's arm. David explains that Norm's a kid, and kids are supposed to be stupid, so what's their excuse?
He's right.
He
Yeah.
is.
That
was a dick swinging contest. That's all that was. Ollie literally said, we don't need the generator.
Yeah. Well, even that, look, I get the kid wants to be brave or he wants to whatever. Mm-hmm. You're a grown ass adult.
Yeah. You're supposed to tell him.
You should look, kid. Just sit back, dude.
Yeah.
We all, you know what I mean. I get you want to help, but you know what I mean.
Instead of being like, step aside, I'll deliver this baby. But he tells Myron and Jim to go back into the store and stand by the door, but not to say anything to anyone about what happened yet. They leave, and David nods at Ollie to kill the generator. He does, leaving them in darkness, but David turns on his flashlight, and Ollie comes over, explaining that they do have to tell everybody. Mm-hmm. They have to stop everyone from going outside. But David says they won't believe them. He doesn't even know if he believes them, and he was there. What can they even say to convince them? And more importantly, what were those tentacles attached to?
Thinking like a genius.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'd be worried about more than anything, because it seemed like it was one thing.
Yeah.
And that's even worse than it being 10 things.
Yeah.
But this idea of telling them, it made me think of the cave allegory from Plato.
Go on.
It's basically, to sum it up, it's fucking funny because a teacher told me it once and I thought it was one thing for like 10 years until I researched it, and the teacher fucking told me the wrong shit.
No.
And so I had been referencing it for 10 years and just been wrong. But it's basically, if people are raised in a cave and all they know are the shadows on the wall from the fire in the cave, and then you come in and you try to tell them, hey, no, look outside, like there's real shit out here, they'll retreat to the cave and resent you for it.
Because it's what they know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which kind of fits with everything with Jim and Myron. because they go back to what they know as opposed to believing what David's trying to tell them.
Yeah.
I think you're going to run into that shit a ton if you try to tell everyone in the store, hey, we just fought a tentacled monster outside. And they're like, so anyway, we're going to focus on dinner tonight because that's real.
Didn't, what is it, in Men in Black, which I know you used to be very fond of.
I was, yes.
And Tommy Lee Jones, what did he tell Will Smith? A person is smart.
Mm-hmm.
People are dumb, stupid animals. So if you go tell this whole crowd the wrong way, those motherfuckers are going to freak out.
And that's the thing is you got to...
What a poignant quote from Men in Black.
It's a good movie.
It's not bad. I want to revisit it. But that's the thing is it's not even just telling them. It's like, do we tell them? Well, I don't know. How do we tell them? Because you can't break it the way I just
did. Listen, there's some shit outside. Don't go outside. We
No,
seen it. You don't want to go out there.
But that just kind of sounds like you're just making some shit up.
I don't know. I feel like it takes me back to like the government hiding stuff about aliens because we're not ready.
We're ready.
We're ready. There's going to be that small group of people that's like, no, we're going to go anyway. Okay, let them go. And now they're dead. And now the smart people can stay and we'll figure it out.
And we have more food.
So David leaves the loading dock and Amanda sees him covered in blood and is horrified. But he's like, it's not my blood.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. He's like, oh, it's not mine. Everything's pizza.
It's cool. God.
You want to explain?
I guess I have to now.
Yeah.
Okay. We were eating at
Cheesecake Factory
a few years ago, and the server comes up to the table. We're all talking and laughing. It's us and then my parents and my kids, and we're all laughing and hanging out. And then the server comes up and goes, everything pizza? And I'm horrified because immediately I'm thinking that pizza is like a cool term now and that I've officially reached the age where I don't know slang anymore. Yeah. But then I turn around and he literally had a pizza and was asking if we had ordered the pizza.
Because everything was on it?
It was an everything pizza.
So that's become a new lingo.
Yeah. Everything pizza, Nate? Yeah, everything's fucking pizza. Yeah, it's
so
pizza.
David's like, everything's pizza. Don't.
Everything's pizza.
Don't worry about it. Not my blood.
You fucker. But he tells her that he'll explain everything that happened later. He just can't let Billy see him like this. He takes off his shirt and starts to put on a fresh one, asking her to just keep Billy distracted, and she leaves. So David goes back over to Ollie, Myron, and Jim, who have all started dipping into the beer supply.
Understandable.
Right. Jim immediately apologizes again, and David tells him that people just need to know what happened. They don't need to know how it happened, which is kind. Mm-hmm. Because I'd be like, this fucking piece of shit. They propose to start with the out-of-towners, and Ollie thinks it should be Norton. He's an important New York attorney who will probably be a judge one day, and a lot of people look up to him, which is smart. I mean, we debated earlier about whether or not to tell or not tell. That's a good way, I think, to get the ball rolling.
Is to start with someone respectable.
Someone who's trusted, yeah. But he tells David that they need to do it quickly to stop the creatures from getting into the store. Myron says they're safe. They closed the loading dock door, but Ollie reminds him that the entire front of the store is windows made of glass.
So we're dead.
Yeah.
Hello. David immediately goes to pull Norton off to the side, and we see from Ollie, Jim, and Myron's point of view as David quietly explains the situation to him. Norton is clearly not buying it.
Yeah.
Well, I think you see him say tentacles.
He's like, look, tentacles.
Yeah.
I just fucking said do not start with the tentacles.
He brings tentacles up way too soon.
Yeah.
Like, you don't start there. You work your way to the tentacle.
Yeah.
Right. But he comes over, and even though the rest of the guys co-sign for David, he tells him he's not stupid, and it's tasteless of them to use the situation to try to make him look like an idiot. David invites him back to the loading dock, promising blood and a chunk of tentacle on the floor. Norton refuses, saying that they have real issues out here to deal with. When Ollie asks why they would possibly lie about this, things escalate quickly. In Norton's estimation, this is payback for the lawsuit he filed against David. It wasn't enough to win. He has to be humiliated, too, by being shown a rubber snake while the rest of these hicks stand around and laugh.
Myron is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Myron's not having it.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
He advances on Norton, and Jim has to hold him back, so then Norton turns on Jim. This is a local versus out-of-towner situation to Norton.
Mm-hmm.
He says he hears Jim talking shit behind his back.
So 2 things.
Yeah.
Number 1, there is a change from the novella to here where because Norton is black, out-of-towner feels like a loaded term.
It does. And Andre Brower insisted on that. He came up with that. None of that was in the script.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, this is his little spin that he added to it to make it really, really what's your issue with me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what it feels like. And with Jim, he's probably right.
Yeah, I mean,
Norton's probably right.
Probably. The other moment with his little dispute with Myron is just an odd choice in acting because he's like, hey, fuck. And then he stops. And he's like, yes. And because he goes to listen to Jim.
I know exactly what you're talking about. He's like,
Interesting choice.
But he tells David that he thought he was actually being kind to him today, but he's glad to be set straight. And he's even glad that the tree fell on David's boathouse.
Man.
He's like, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I don't care that your boathouse is smashed. It's so bad because literally everything was fine.
Everything was pizza.
Everything was pizza. And it just took a few tentacles to fuck everybody's shit up. They could have been friends.
It was just weird how, like you said, they were being cool and all that.
Was building.
And then right away it's like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, why? And then plus, why would I lie to you?
I think this is the cave allegory because he's like, I'm just gonna go to believing what I know.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can enjoy your tentacle shit.
Like, I mean, even at that, it's like he's like, y'all all are working together to try to make me look like a fool. It's like, dude, really?
Why would we?
How stupid does that sound, and how stupid does the 4 or 5 of us sound saying that?
If they were actually doing that, how stupid.
Yeah.
And then it's like a green snake in the fucking...
Gotcha.
Then who's the real idiot?
But all of this drama has attracted attention. David tells Norton that lives, including his sons, are at stake and he'll drag him back there if he has to. He's like, matter of fact.
Yeah.
He tries to do just that, but Norton makes an even bigger scene, saying that he's been assaulted and he will sue David again, and this time David will go to jail. Ollie finally steps up to get everyone's attention. Like something not so chill.
Yeah.
Bud tries to reprimand them for drinking, saying that he will report Ollie and he's going to start taking down names for the police report. Ollie's like, take down your names, but in the meantime, shut the fuck up.
That's when I was like, Ollie's the shit.
I'm on Ollie's team.
Really? This policy time, dude?
Yeah.
Right, stop that.
Because he was like, you're drinking on the job.
It's like, you go back there.
Yeah, you look at that fucking tentacle and you might
and I'll have a beer waiting
crack one
for you.
open, yeah.
But Ollie gives the floor to David. I like how he gets everyone's attention and is like, David.
He's the opening act.
And he explains that, what happened on the loading dock. Dan backs him up that there were things out there, but everything happened too quickly for him to see what it was. But when David says the word tentacles, there is a division. These
What did
tentacles
you
are
learn?
controversial. You don't open with the tentacles, David.
No.
Bud begins to laugh and Norton joins him, dubbing them tentacles from Planet X.
Great.
Which in the book, they say that he says it and it was funny the first few times, but then he won't stop saying it. He really runs it into the ground.
We've been in those situations.
But Bud surmises that the tentacles are coming out of the beer can. So David's like, why don't you come on back and see?
Okay, so at this point for me, a lot of the dialogue, I want to say, and I know a lot of it's taken verbatim from
It is,
the novella, but it feels very 50s.
Kinda,
Like-
old school.
Yeah, like almost like a upgraded B movie.
I didn't register that, but you're right.
Like almost, what I'm getting real vibes of is the Monsters Are Due
I
on Maple Street.
was just thinking that.
Like it feels like a Twilight Zone.
All right. I like Twilight Zone.
Like, I'll allow it.
But it was lines like that where I think the tentacles are coming out of the beer can. It's like, did Rod Serling do uncredited?
Okay, Pete Campbell. Settle down. But Bud does go back with them, along with the character named Biker, played by Brian Libby. And as promised, there are puddles of blood on the floor and a straight up tentacle tip on the ground. biker pokes it with the broom handle until it writhes and then completely dissolves. So it's like, well, there goes your evidence.
Yeah.
I was
Cool.
very bummed that it dissolved.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of stereotypical for these films for that shit to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
I expected them to go back there and it's gone.
Yeah. Not
Oh,
even,
yeah.
You know?
When they came back with the flashlights and you saw the blood, I was like, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
Because usually the fucking tentacle would have came back and cleaned up.
Yeah.
Grabbed like 8 towels. But one thing I did want to say is that in this scene, the tentacle is practical. It's an actual tentacle that Greg
Right.
Nicotero made.
Well, not an actual tentacle.
Not, well, yeah. And Nicotero found it on its way to set. And he's like, use this. No. But they would use on set kind of markers and models to kind of get the actors in the mood.
Uh-huh.
And then a lot of it would be CG'd later. And so this is one of the models that they had made for that purpose.
Like, this is what you're afraid of.
Exactly.
This is what's coming at you.
and
That's
so
cool.
it's a lot easier to have this scene with a practical tentacle.
Right.
I'm
Not
glad-
a real tentacle, but
I'm glad they did.
yes.
But when they go back to the main part of the store, Bud has changed his tune. Later, we get sweeping shots through the misty parking lot up to the front of the store. Everyone inside is using big bags of fertilizer and dog food to set up a barricade in front of those huge windows.
So I love these shots through the mist. Mm-hmm. They have a big set. At this point, the parking lot is fucking left wherever it is.
Right.
It's not
It's
real
a drawing
anymore.
now.
Yeah. So they have these 2 big sets that they combined and they cut off. So they have one that they would go and fill with mist in the morning and just have it there all day while they filmed. And so they would have it for the actors to actually react to and look at. And
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
so when you see that them going through the mist, that's them going through actual mist.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. I'm sure that added to like the feeling, like the vibe.
Yeah.
Of,
For sure.
that'd be scary as fuck.
Also,
But
they kept calling it the fog in the novella. And I'm like, John Carpenter is not going to. So I see why they changed it.
But we cut to the bathroom where Mrs. Carmody is having a full-blown conversation with God. She prays to him over a lit candle on a toilet seat to be able to save some of these people. They can't all be bad, even though she knows that most of them are. She says if she can save just a few or even one, then her life would have had meaning and she would have earned a place at his side. As she continues, Amanda enters the bathroom. She calls out to whoever's inside and Mrs. Carmody stops praying. She blows out her candle and dries her tears with toilet paper. She turns rudely to Amanda, who says that she only needed to use the bathroom. Mrs. Carmody turns to leave, but Amanda stops her and is like, look, it's okay to be scared. And if you need a friend, you know, I'm here. And Mrs. Carmody tells her that her friend is God and she talks to him every day. So don't be mocking her. Then she tells Amanda that the day she needs a friend like her, she'll have a squat and shit one out.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I thought you were a woman of God.
Yeah. That lady's a monster.
Yeah.
Fucking awful.
Now, I've never been to church. Is that how they chat normally?
I think
Or- okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
But she leaves Amanda in disbelief. I'd be like,
Well,
I
yeah.
don't even know that I could react.
Well, she wasn't condescending
No.
at all.
I
No.
mean, oh man.
She was literally just trying to be there for her.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's interesting. This scene was not in the novella.
No, I feel like Mrs. Carmody is horrifying in the novella, but they really bring the heat
Yeah.
for her in the film.
Like, you can't even appeal to her on a human level.
No. But back in the store, Norton is announcing to the room that maybe they're not outright lying. Maybe they're just delusional, but there's no evidence to support any of this. David says that this isn't a courtroom and all he's doing is damage, but Norton accuses him of just throwing some cow's blood around the loading dock. I don't know if he thinks that all the locals just carry around cows.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Ollie tells David to just let it go. You can't convince some people there's a fire even if their hair is burning because denial is powerful. And fucking Ollie is just
Man.
he every time he opens his mouth, it's good shit.
I hope he starts a blog before the film is over. What's his Twitter account? Eh?
But Mrs. Carmody speaks up that there's no appeals court in hell and there's no defense here either. They can stack fertilizer as high as they want, but at the end of the day, they're just bags of shit. Now Miss Carmody got a potty mouth.
Yeah.
She does.
Which, okay. But Norton says anyone who wants to rationally discuss getting out of here can come with him, and the rest can stay and stack dog food, which they're really doing something useful, but the way he puts it makes them sound really stupid.
And he kind of tilts his head like dog food.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But people disperse, some going to help stack and some leaving with Norton to the back of the store. Mrs. Carmody takes her Bible out and starts to preach from it with the scared woman standing next to her and listening. Now, before when she was doing this shit, nobody was trying to hear it. But this lady's like, now who's this God fellow?
I've heard so much about. I was pissed. I was like, God damn it, she brought her pocket Bible. This is just going to get worse and worse.
Dan asks what she's saying, and she puts it simply, we must prepare to meet our maker. Jim, still drinking, tells her that her tongue is hung in the middle so it can waggle at both ends. That's a line from the book. It's great to me, but
it feels more 50s.
It does. She tells him that the end has come, not in flames, but in mist. Jim then has to be held back and threatens to kick her ass.
I was like, you're going to fight this lady, dude?
Go ahead, man.
Oh my
trash.
God. In front of everyone, too. Everyone tells Jim, who's clearly drunk, to chill. David reassures Billy that everything's fine, but Mrs. Carmody keeps going. She tells anyone who doesn't believe to just go on outside and see how that works for them. A man with a scared daughter tells her to shut up, and Amanda says that she's scaring all the kids. But Mrs. Carmody's like, they should be scared.
Yeah.
She says their minds have been warped to the idea of a new God or no God, and there's only one, and he's vengeful and pissed, and he demands retribution and blood. It's time to take sides, the saved and the damned.
Isn't she like rubbing some kid's face?
She is. I'd be like, stop fucking touching my kid.
Oh, no, yeah.
Who does that?
What's crazy to me is that she's seen as like the town nut
job. Yeah.
But give a little bit. And this is what is getting me. This has been going on, what, 5 hours, maybe 4 hours?
Oh, yeah, no, it's the same thing.
Like, it's insane.
Tie her up. Just, we'll feed you. Sit over there.
But she says the Bible calls for expiation, a.k.a. blood. Now, this film was like a word of the day calendar because I never heard the word expiation before now. But
great word.
It's a great word. She says Norm was just the first one. Now it's everyone else's turn. The bill is due. She keeps going until Amanda goes over and slaps her in the face, telling her that that's enough. But this only bolsters her. The snap having drawn blood from her lip, she's like, oh, another down payment. It's like, bitch, don't be rolling with it.
I gotta say, dude, her not
she's
only
quick.
You gotta give it to her. She's fucking like nuts, but her fucking wit is great. She says like some shit that makes me laugh out loud in this movie. And I'm like, I know that you're awful, but that's really funny.
But damn, lady.
And she goes, pennies in the jar. I'm like, I love this. I hate you, but I love you.
Oh my God. But Billy notices the military guys huddled together and talking quietly. Mrs. Carmody says the creatures will come back tonight and take someone else. And when it happens, they'll be asking Mother Carmody to show them the way. And it's like, you don't get to give yourself a nickname.
Yeah.
No. Stop it.
So you just jump from sister, like you're not even
Mother
bothering.
now. Ollie tells her that until then, shut up before he tapes her mouth shut. She tells him to try, and then she's like, and you bitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude. She's just fucking. She tells Amanda that she'll be on her knees to her before this is through. She walks away, and Ollie warns all the out-of-towners that Mrs. Carmody is known around town for being unstable.
Yes, and see, I'm a non-religious person, but I guess the Bible's up to interpretation. Because she's doing her own shit with it.
This is Mother Carmody's version.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Version.
I don't know. We're not religious.
Billy goes over to the military guys and asks why they don't just call their friends to bring their tanks and come help. They say their phones don't work, but David comes over and asks them to help. They immediately leave. They're like, we don't want to answer any of this shit. Billy tells David that he doesn't like Mrs. Carmody, and David's like, I don't either, but she's probably just scared too.
I love this moment.
Yeah.
Because he very easily, if I were him, I'd be like, yeah, she's fucking.
That bitch is nuts.
I hope she leaves. But he looks at it, again, it's another building block of showing how good of a person he is. He's trying to see it from her point of view. Why would she be acting like this?
She's scared.
Just as scared as we are.
Yeah.
And passing on that lesson to your kid, he's a good dad.
Yeah. But Billy wonders if Steph is okay and says that he's sorry for all the times he was bad to her. But David tells him that Steph loves him very much and she's probably fine. He promises to do everything he can to get him back to her. David and Billy join a group up front of Bud, Dan, and Amanda. Dan says they can use lighter fluid and mops to make torches, but when asked, Bud says that they don't keep a gun in the store. Ambrose steps forward to tell them he has a shotgun in his truck and he's willing to go for it, but David doesn't think that that's a good idea. Amanda pulls a gun out of her purse along with bullets. Her husband is away on business a lot and it was his idea she get it for protection, but she doesn't know how to shoot very well. But Ollie does. Well, the fucking MVP, man.
He does it all. He stalks, he's a bagger, and he's a crack shot. My thing is, she carries 12 rounds. Like, those were speed loaders, dude.
Yeah.
How many is her husband in the mob? Like, they might come for you at dinner.
Carmela,
be ready.
you need to protect yourself. But suddenly, Norton and his crew come up to the front, intent on leaving before David psychs out more of his people.
More division.
That's enough, man. What are you, Moses now? But he says that they're experiencing a disaster that is certainly not spiritual or biblical, and the only choice they have is to go out and seek rescue. David, resigned, asks that he at least tie a rope around his waist to see if he can make it 300 feet.
If I'm Norton, I'm going to start pissing myself right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? But Biker speaks up. He'll go. He doesn't agree with Norton, but he thinks he can definitely use Ambrose's shotgun, and he knows where Ambrose parked his red pickup. He takes Ambrose's keys and ties the rope around himself, rejecting the knife that Ollie offers him for his own much larger knife.
It's like, you call that?
Yeah.
I knew you were going to
Now, you can expect I appreciate it.
I know,
Of
because
course.
you're a knife
You're a
guy.
knife man.
And I think I have that exact one sitting on the kitchen table.
Not
Well,
always.
No, not that one.
The big one.
The real
Yeah.
knife. I did want to point out, we all can agree that this biker is a badass.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I did read something that was very funny to me, and I almost would like to see this version.
Oh, God.
The role was originally offered to Stephen King.
It would be a
So
different
he was
character
the
for
biker?
sure.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And the only reason he said no is because he didn't want to travel to film it.
So he would have
So
if
he
it was
would have.
local.
Oh,
He's like, if you film it in Maine, I'll be there.
right.
All I'm thinking of is the character he did in Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
I feel like that's all it would be.
Just Bachman.
But David quietly asks Norton if there's anything he can do to talk him out of it. But Norton tells him there's nothing out there, nothing in the mist. I just like that line. And if he's wrong, then the joke really would be on him after all. Mrs. Carmody tells Norton that they will die out there. but Norton boldly opens the door and steps out into the mist. Before he leaves behind them, Biker tells Mrs. Carmody that he believes in God too. He just doesn't believe him to be the bloodthirsty asshole she makes him out to be. Mrs. Carmody, in classic Mrs. Carmody fashion, is like, well, yeah, why don't you just chat that over with the devil when you run into him?
Dude, she goes, chat it over at your leisure.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's a fucking bitch.
I love her. Marcia Gay Harden.
No, Marcia Gay Harden is great.
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody is fucking
Yeah.
Oh my God, with her thin villainous eyebrows.
Yeah.
I can't stand her. But yeah, that makes me, makes me
that
laugh
shit
every
is
time.
laugh out loud funny.
But Norton and his crew strike out for the center of town and disappear into the mist. Biker heads further into the parking lot, disappearing himself with the rope trailing behind him. Back in the store, David continues to feed more of the rope with Dan, Bud, Amanda, and Ollie doing the same behind him. It's like a train situation. Everyone anxiously watches as the rope goes slack. It tightens back up again, giving them a brief second of hope, but then it pulls forward. The rope burns their hands as it's quickly pulled out the door. Finally, when they get a grip, it pulls the entire train of people holding it until it goes at a sharp upward angle and then snaps, causing them to fall back. The biker went up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which is way more frightening than if it just
Just
ran
being
out.
pulled, yeah.
On commentary, Darabont said that the entire crew was with the other side of the rope on the opposite end of the stage, and they were pulling the rope with a machine, and so it was changing the speed and how quick they were doing
shit.
it. But he said it was basically them playing tug of war with the whole cast,
Right.
and it just made me laugh. He said it was his favorite day on film, was filming this scene on set. His favorite day
Yeah.
on film.
But David pulls the rope back into the store and we see that it's covered in blood. Finally, the lower half of Biker's body is pulled into the view of the store. It is full panic as they cut the rope and shut the door. Seizing her moment, Mrs. Carmody asks if they all believe now. And then it fades to black. This bitch, she knows her moments.
Yeah, she's picking her spots. I can't even...
You can't even fault her for it.
No. I will say, first of all, incredible sequence.
Yes.
I love this so much. It's such a simple thing to do. And it's so crazy how much of a crowd reaction you can get from changing the rope from white to red.
Yeah.
Because I popped.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. You know, and it's just a simple thing.
It is, and I even found myself still watching it for the show. I was like, "Oh shit!"
For the
But I
100th
know,
time.
but I know it's coming.
Oh, Biker, no.
You hear the people in the store groan, and he keeps pulling it, and it's just like, oh.
No, I don't want to see it.
Nope.
Because it's not just that it broke and it's bloody. Like he is pulling
No,
something.
yeah.
You can see. No.
And they let the body get a little too close before they start to scream.
Yeah.
And they're like, drop the rope, drop the rope.
They can't see. It's the Misty.
Oh, that's
it's
fair.
the Misty.
It's the Misty.
But later, Myron and Jim set up spotlights as the sun starts to go down. But they warn David that they aren't charged. They have 5 to 10 minutes of light in them, if that. So it's only to be used in case of emergency, like if something were to get inside the store.
Every time I've watched the film until for this show, I was like, wow, man, can't believe Biker's dead. But Norton and his group, I wonder what happened. No, they're all dead, right?
That was my question.
Because, I mean, you don't hear them scream.
No, you don't hear.
But they were right next to
They
him.
went
Yeah.
in different directions. They went off for the center of town, and Biker went further into the parking lot. So,
You don't have to cut through the center of the parking lot to get to the center of town?
no.
Oh. Well, then I don't know. But that's because
Yeah, we don't know.
this is the last we see of Norton
Yeah.
and
We
his fucking group.
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We never see them again.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, are they dead?
We don't know.
All right.
I mean, I feel like it's safe to assume, but do
Right.
we know? No.
Didn't- unless those ghouls murked them quietly.
Yeah. Like, shh.
If I can snap their neck, like, shh. Because you don't hear them anything.
No, I didn't
stealth
even
kill.
think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the locker room, Private Jessup startles Sally as she closes her locker. He tells her he's worried about his parents who only live about 5 miles away, but Sally's who are out of town in Boston are fine. I'd be like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
They're like, this is a local mist. Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. But they talk about him shipping out, and she quickly asks why he never asked her out when they flirted all through high school, and she knows that he likes her. He's like, well, no, because I'm stupid. But they kiss.
He's like, because I'm a vampire.
Yeah.
But they kiss, and she pulls away, saying that she doesn't want it to happen like this in a shitty locker room at work. He asks if they can just stay together for a while, and she smiles.
So very quickly, if it doesn't happen here at the locker room, it might not happen at all.
Yeah.
Let it happen in the locker room.
But the second thing that I wanted to say is that you do see the Project Arrowhead patch on his uniform
Yeah.
when they're necking or whatever.
Not necking. This is the 50s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting in. I think my brain's changing, but you do see it, and so it's like, whoa, that's kind of lending credence
Right.
to all the stories that we've heard.
Yeah. Back in the main part of the store, they kind of sit quietly with some of them looking out through holes in the walls of the bags. A man sits to eat his dinner. I forgot to mention
That's right.
when Norton, it's just a throwaway line, but when I think it's when Norton is trying to get his group to
Yeah.
leave, David's like, look, it's cool, just stay. Mr. So-and-so's gonna barbecue some chicken.
Yeah.
it makes
Well,
me
he
laugh.
did.
He did barbecue some chicken.
He did. Well, my thing is, if I'm a Norton, I'd be like, well, maybe we can leave
Maybe I should
tomorrow.
go first.
Yeah, we're leaving on an empty stomach. I mean, what have you had?
Yeah.
Like jujubes or whatever they had? I don't know. I mean, you probably haven't eaten anything.
Yeah.
But
Jujubes. I don't know why the
Yeah.
fuck I said that.
no, this guy sits in front of the hole and he's got some barbecue chicken. He's got a side and a Hawaiian roll.
Yeah.
Dude, well, it's a fully stocked.
Right?
They're
Yeah.
having a cookout in there.
That is one thing I like about the novella is they talk about that being that dude's solving a problem on the dock
Yes.
is
yeah.
cooking for
Yeah.
the group.
Alright.
So he kind of is centering himself in that.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing.
This is a problem that I can solve.
Yeah.
We're hungry. I can feed you.
Mm-hmm.
But there is barbecue chicken. But we see a small bug floating outside the window. Suddenly, the bug comes toward us, and we realize it wasn't small. It was just far away. It's giant, and it lands on the window, causing the guy with the barbecue chicken to scream and kind of fall backward.
Now, most importantly, he does not get to fuck that chicken up
He
because it
doesn't.
falls.
No, yeah.
It falls on the floor, and obviously, I guess what is about to happen is more important. But legitimately, seeing that bug, the creature design needs to be called out.
Called out for, like, in a bad way?
No, positively.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
like, no.
No, I think it's great.
No.
It's so funny to me because I know this term in the context of what it is, but I've never read Lovecraft ever in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But these are Lovecraftian. You get it.
Sure.
No, these bugs are fucking terrifying.
Yes,
Yes.
they
Like-
are.
When they started landing or when they landed on the thing, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Well, because they give you this like false, oh, it's just a bug.
Yeah.
But then it just keeps fucking getting bigger
Yeah,
and bigger.
no.
Am I okay? Maybe I'm crazy, but I wouldn't be sitting there with my chicken watching.
I probably would.
Out the window?
Maybe it was his turn to kind of keep watch.
A few of
All
them
right.
are.
That's
Dan's
fair.
over
Yeah.
there. Bud's over there. A few people are.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with somebody
No.
not keeping watch.
I'd be in aisle 4.
Yeah.
I'd make like a little picnic nook.
Right.
With your barbecue chicken and your Hawaiian rolls.
Yeah, making little sandwiches.
Wow. That's understandable.
But David comes over to investigate with his lantern. Sally and Jessup join the group as they watch several more of these big bugs gently land on the window. Mrs. Carmody, of course, is quoting scripture and marveling at the stingers on the bugs. They get bigger flashlights to look out at them, and everyone stares until Ollie screams as a huge creature swoops down toward the bugs. It lands roughly, completely shattering the glass. Everyone screams and backs away. Jim and Myron start up their spotlights, but Ollie muses that he thinks that the bugs are attracted to the light. They rush to turn off the lanterns, lining the windows, and Jim is rushing to turn all the big
Yeah.
lights on.
This miscommunication,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
it's awful.
It's so bad. Everyone is running everywhere. Mrs. Carmody recites the Bible, and a woman falls and hurts her arm right next to Billy and Hattie. The bugs, still attracted to the light, cling to the glass as that huge creature snatches them up, damaging the glass even more until it finally breaks.
So I did hear on the commentary the way they're achieving these broken, spider or whatever things on the window is they were literally having someone throw a baseball bat at the window.
Oh my
Throw
God.
a baseball bat. A baseball. A fucking baseball. I don't know why I said that. But
I didn't even register. I'm just like, oh shit.
A baseball
slung
player
in.
punched the window.
Yeah. A baseball. And they were compositing in later with the visual effects
all right.
of this fucking
It
bird
works.
creature.
It works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's smart.
Yeah.
It's really smart. But that's the thing, though, when you don't have a lot of money to use as a crutch,
Right.
like you get creative. It works very, very well.
And they do a lot of stuff in this sequence of like a mix of practical and CG.
You'll love to see it.
You'll love to see it.
But with the glass broken, the bugs rush in, and Dan yells at Jim and Myron to kill the lights. Amanda kills one of the bugs
Yeah.
with the rake, but one lands on Sally and stings her in the neck, and I bet she wishes she would have just got it in the
Yeah.
locker room.
Got
But
it in.
just
It was young love. I thought it was
Well,
sweet.
But Jessup rushes to her, and her neck is already starting to swell, like immediately.
Yeah.
It's chaos. A bird creature comes into the store, and Amanda is struggling to light David's mop on fire. Remember their plan with the torches?
Two things. I'm sorry.
You
I'm
just look
sorry.
like you're trying not to.
No, I was laughing. One thing I just got to throw away, but he calls Sally sweetheart as
Yeah.
she's on the ground. I'm like, you're not
We're
dating
together
yet.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, from that one talk in the locker room?
Yeah, because
I guess, man. But the other thing is that as she's trying to light David's like torch, she's screaming the whole time, and it's just really funny watching her trying to work a lighter, and she's just like, ah!
well, it's scary as shit.
Oh, it
man.
is,
Yeah, but-
and it is. In all fairness, it is selling the reality of the moment because
Yeah.
I'd probably be doing the same shit. But it just made me laugh.
I'll do my duties, but I'm screaming while I'm doing
it makes you go faster.
it. Does.
It's a motivator.
But Ollie goes after the bird creature with his gun, but doesn't get to take the shot when a woman and her child are just fucking standing there in the way.
I was like, is this a police training
Move,
video?
bitch, right? Shoot them, don't shoot
Yeah.
them.
You missed the baby. You missed.
But Jim stops Ollie and he's like, look, Ollie, do you want these lights on or
Yeah.
off?
I'm like, dude, oh my God.
And Ollie's like, just leave them on.
Yeah.
A man by the window kills one of the bugs, but is quickly murdered by one of the bird creatures that comes through the window. Amanda finally gets the mop lit, and David goes over and burns it while it is just chomping on the man's neck meat.
Yeah.
As he's chomping, we get a long shot of him enjoying it.
Yeah.
So he was loving it.
This dude smacks.
Yeah.
Saw that barbecue chicken.
Oh, yeah.
But-
he was marinated in it.
Sally is struggling for air as her throat and face continue to swell, and Jessup is just sobbing over her. She finally takes her last breath and dies. Now, Joe, played by Jackson Hurst, gets a mop from the bucket of gas. I'm so sorry. And successfully lights it, only to trip over the bucket, spill the gas, slip in the gas, and drop the flaming mop, causing the flames to spread everywhere. Then he catches on fire and starts running through the store.
So I'm gonna knock off half a point for this. That was the most Three Stooges shit
Yes.
I had ever
Well,
seen.
he like pratfalls.
Yes, I
does.
was like, no. I was like, you have to do that.
Whoops.
What I love about it is the next shot is a shot of Dan, and dude's just burning in the background. Fucking blurry. It's so funny, dude.
No, it's still happening.
Yes.
So we're not looking at him. But the creature that David was burning flies through the store, spreading more flames until David finally gets it down and is just beating it. Dan and the others are able to finally extinguish Joe.
Mm-hmm.
As the chaos finally begins to get under control, a bug lands on Mrs. Carmody's chest with its stinger raised. She says, "My life for you, your will be done." Very quickly, that's a reference to The Stand.
Love it.
But the creature rises up, looks at her, and then flies away. Now, I know they take this as a sign that she's gifted and she is of God or whatever the fuck. Personally,
God.
I think she said that and the bug was like, oh, hell no.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hear all this. And the bug got the
it's like
fuck
what
out.
you don't know about us is we don't sting annoying people.
But Mrs. Carmody rejoices. David is still beating the flaming creature on the ground as Ollie is finally able to take his shot at another one. Billy wrestles away from Hattie and stands in the middle of the aisle yelling for David. And Hattie's just like, Billy, no. Like she doesn't try to get him,
no.
nothing.
I was like,
You're
use
off
your
of-
legs, man.
Yeah, you're off of babysitting duty. But
You should have had the 8-year-old watching them, right?
she would have done
Probably
a better
done
job. But the creature that Ollie shot stumbles toward Billy and screams at him. David snatches Billy away in the nick of time, and Ollie shoots the creature again and kills it. They stand in the aftermath of the chaos, and David and Amanda look down at Sally's corpse.
Yeah.
And she's no longer with us. David tries to confirm that they got all the creatures as they try to barricade the windows, and the burning man is just screaming and crying. I mean, he's not burning anymore,
Yeah.
but Joe.
They had the courtesy to put him out.
Yeah, they did put him out.
I did see on the commentary this sequence took a week to film.
I bet it did.
It's so intricate.
I bet
Yeah.
it's chaos.
Yeah. And the thing is, for me anyway, is that it all just flows so well with the CG and the practical effects.
It does.
Yeah.
Because when you fucking see him beating the thing on fire, that's just a ball attached to like an arm
Yeah.
that they're just like moving through the aisle. And then when he's beating it really on the ground, it's an actual model of the fucking bird.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, the skill that goes into it and the fact that they probably weren't paid as well as they could have been
Yeah.
Yeah.
with what the budget was. It's
Yeah.
just, it's remarkable.
It really is. And it works like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so well.
And those CG things did look like they were part of their environment. So I do appreciate that.
So you'll forgive the tentacles.
Yeah.
But a lady comes up and is like, she was right. She said this is how it would happen. It would happen at night and someone would die. We all could have fucking said that, lady.
Yeah.
Dude, first of all.
I was gonna say I get what she's doing. She's mixing Old Testament with Revelations, and I mean, but
Sure.
you can apply that to like almost anything, and then be like, look, see it fits.
Yeah.
Find some way. So I was like, come on, cut it out.
I mean, I think here's the thing. If nobody had died yet and they had not seen one creature, then yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pretty prophetic fucking thing she said.
Right.
But both things have already happened. So to say anything out, like, you're not doing anything.
No.
No. But Mrs. Carmody is like standing tall and then it fades to black. We get a shot of the outside of the building and we hear a creature sniffing And we see the lower half of Biker's body being dragged away. So they're still hungry.
Yeah.
The body was pulled away by Nicotero and and Frank Darabont.
That's so cool. But that night, Amanda lays in the aisle with the sleeping Billy. Billy stirs in his sleep, saying that he wants his mom and he wants to go home. And Amanda reassures him that everything will be better in the morning. David remarks that Billy likes her, but he says it like when your pet is friendly to someone.
Yeah.
I think he
Wow.
likes you. But Amanda admits that she hates having to lie to him. He asks if she has kids, and she says no. She's always wanted to, but things haven't been working out, and now she realizes that maybe that's for the best. Now, this is probably this little semi-intimate interaction
Right.
with them. In the book, for some reason, they break off to show each other the flesh. And
Yeah.
You know what?
She's-
I'm not surprised.
she's thinking about her husband, and he's thinking about his wife.
Right.
And then they just fucking go back
Yeah.
to the store.
And they're not like, that's a regular thing. They don't.
No, it's just a thing that
it
happened.
But the thing that
But
Okay.
you've been in here for a day, though, dude.
Yeah.
one day, and this is the first night. This isn't
Yeah.
like I'm just like, dude. That's why I'm so glad they
You
didn't.
don't get a pass.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
because David's a good dude, and I would personally be like, it's been a day, dude. It's been a day.
Yeah.
Your wife's checking her watch at home, fighting off fucking mist monsters.
Alone, and you're over here getting it in.
Getting it in. I can't.
But you said he was thinking about her.
Oh, that doesn't count.
I know.
But they talk a little bit until Ollie comes over to get David because Joe has gotten worse. David makes his way through a little makeshift curtain to see Joe, and he is badly burned and in horrible pain.
The makeup is top notch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He asks if they'll just end it for him if he can't be helped, mentioning Ollie's gun. But his brother, Bobby, played by Brandon Odell, protests. Joe says he's not going to be swayed on this, and he'll even do it himself.
Well, you gotta imagine that hurt.
Oh,
Oh,
God, yeah.
Like the pain. He was like
He was on fire.
Yeah.
He was-
And you know the worst part? The embarrassment.
Oh yeah.
Everybody fucking saw me fall. And you know when you fall and it's like in slow motion?
He's like, David had an action hero moment fighting that bird, and I fucking lit myself on fire. We are not the same.
Yeah.
But back to a very serious moment.
Dude, it's so funny
I
because
couldn't transition laughing into that.
as I was watching this scene and what comes next, I was like, this is grisly.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot.
It is.
But he sobs, begging for the gun. But David convinces him to hold off for just a little bit longer. Back in the aisle, Amanda tries to wake Hattie to watch Billy. Don't leave him with her again.
No.
But she has to go to the restroom. But when Hattie doesn't respond when Amanda's trying to wake her up, she gets a candle to investigate her, and Hattie is no longer with us. She's laying dead with an empty bottle of pills laying next to her hand. This is like something that happens in the stand as well. But anyway, David and Ollie join Dan and Bud at the front of the store to tell them about Joe's situation. If he doesn't get antibiotics soon, he is going to die. Ollie mentions that they have burn cream at the pharmacy next door. Mrs. Repler told him. I guess,
Does she stock the
she
pharmacy?
frequents
Yeah.
the pharmacy.
She robs the pharmacy. It's behind the counter.
When a random man with them protests, David takes it a step further. He's not just talking about going to the pharmacy. He's talking about leaving. Amanda interrupts them to tearfully say, "It's Hattie." And we cut to the men carrying Hattie away in a blanket. They lay her to rest on a pallet of dog food in the loading dock, which goddamn, y'all got more dog food back there?
Yeah.
You better bring that shit up front.
Wait,
Jesus.
But if you had it back there, why didn't you
Use it
keep
for the
stacking
windows?
it? Yeah.
I don't. That's a good question.
You think that was her final wishes?
John
Rest,
Paul-
rest me on the kibble.
Isn't that everyone? John Paul's like, take off half a point.
Yeah.
But David immediately starts with his plan of leaving again. When Amanda is shocked, he tells her that they'll bring back medicine from the pharmacy, but then they need to go. He has a 4-wheel drive that can seat 8 people, and they can drive as far as they can to try to get out of the mist. Dan and Amanda are incredulous, but David says that Norton and his group made it 200 feet, and he's parked closer than that, which Norton and the group didn't. Biker did.
It's a lot of stuff has been happening. I can't remember names or people or events.
But Dan checks with Ollie to find that they only have 10 rounds left in the one gun that they have. David says the biggest reason to get out of here is Mrs. Carmody. She's their Jim Jones, and he wants to get out of here before people start drinking the Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid's like, it was flavored.
I was just about to say, in quick defense of Kool-Aid. History has painted them in a very negative light.
Kool-Aid Man's like, oh no.
It was a Flavor Aid. But 4 people are already listening to her preach, and by this afternoon, there will be 4 more. And when those things come back tomorrow night, she'll have a congregation looking for a sacrifice, which it's an easy line to draw.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
You can absolutely see that's the next step.
It's been a day.
Yeah.
This gets Dan on board. Amanda still fights it. She has faith in humanity. People are good and decent. But David puts it in perspective. That's true as long as the machines are working and you can call the police. Once those are gone and people are scared, there are no more rules.
First of all, I completely agree.
Yes.
But I think he's wrong because even with the police and all that stuff, people are not good.
No.
I think he's saying like everybody though.
Oh, well.
Like,
All right.
yeah,
I
there are
guess
some people that are still going to act up, but like
Maybe.
everybody's going to act up when that's gone.
I might just be too cynical for my own good.
No, people are trash anyway. But Dan says that in these situations, people will turn to whoever offers a solution. Amanda goes to Ollie for support, but he's like, nah, sis. He says, put more than 2 people in a room and we pick sides and start dreaming reasons to kill each other. Why do you think we created politics and religion? Ollie, again, spitting some motherfucking facts.
Did Toby Jones say, I'll do the film, but you better give me all the good lines? Because he's fucking
I
killing
want to be
it.
the true hero of the film.
Yes.
But David says that the pharmacy will be a test run and then they can take it from there. We cut to Billy sobbing as David has, I guess, told him he's going to the pharmacy. He promises to bring back a comic book, but Billy is inconsolable. But he promises him that he will come back. Amanda tells him that if anything goes wrong, cut and run to come back to Billy.
I just want to point out, this kid's acting his ass off.
Yeah.
He is,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
The whole movie.
This scene in particular.
We've talked about child actors before.
No, yeah. It made me, I was like, God damn. You know what I mean? What are you
You don't
want
want to leave your
Yeah,
kid?
hell no. And then him giving her the keys and he's like, you go. It's like, you fucker.
That's the other thing is maybe don't plan for your possible death in front of the kid.
Well,
okay.
but I get that.
Like
but
say, hey, go play with
go with who?
go play with that bird corpse. I gotta talk to I gotta talk to your Aunt Amanda.
But yes, next he tells her to, if anything happens to him, take care of Billy as best she can for as long as she can. And then he gives her the keys and it's like, that's your car now. And Billy is right fucking there.
Yeah.
He's like, so you might die.
Well, but what do you do? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
You have
definitely.
to, you have to make sure your kid's set up. But on his way out, he's accosted by Mrs. Carmody. David announces to the store that they're going for medicine, but Mrs. Carmody says they'll bring the creatures back with them, and immediately people start to agree. Bobby says that he's going, even if he has to go alone. That's his brother that's burned. And Mrs. Carmody tells him that he's going to walk outside and be torn to shreds, and David's hubris will have the creatures come back for all of them. I don't know why she specifically has beef with David.
He honestly hasn't done anything to her. Maybe because he's cool with Amanda.
Maybe because that, or because he's got his own little group.
Yeah, I was going to
that's
say
true.
kind of because he's the leader of another little group.
Clearly
Yeah.
the leader.
He's a threat.
Yeah.
And we're on this side.
Yeah.
But she starts preaching, getting people to agree with her until Mrs. Repler, MVP number fucking 2, throws a can of peas right in the center of her forehead, telling her to shut up. David has to hold Mrs. Carmody back from her. So
She was going to fight
I
this
was
old
going to
lady.
say, this lady is fucking cussing people out, trying to fight people.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's the Holy Ghost or whatever.
Piety.
But right. But Mrs. Repler says that according to the Bible, stoning people who piss you off is fine. And she still has plenty of peace. David asks the military men if they'll help, and Jessup agrees, but the other 2 say no. Mrs. Repler convinces Jim to join them as well by insulting his intelligence.
Yeah.
She remembered him from, she's like, I know who you are.
She
Yeah.
taught him in school.
Yeah.
She's like, you're dumb as fuck. Get in line.
Yes,
what
ma'am.
what are you supposed to say? You know what I mean? Your old teacher is like, hey,
Yes, ma'am.
Get up. Do something.
He's got stuff to atone for too.
And she fucking shit talked his sister
Yeah.
too. She's like, I remember you and your sister. He's like, Pauline, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
A bunch of underachievers. It's like, all right, I'll join you.
Yes, ma'am. But David, Ollie, Jim, Mrs. Repler, Dan, Bobby, Jessup, and a random man step out into the mist.
A random man.
He
Yeah.
is a random man. I'd be like, if I'm going with the group, I better be well known because you
Yeah.
know what are the red shirts?
Yeah.
You know what's gonna happen. But they disappear into the thick, silent mist, and they're all armed with very Dan was making a fucking spear.
Yeah.
David has
He has an axe.
an axe. I'm like, David has something.
You didn't watch this movie, did you?
But we hear distant growling, but nothing comes toward them. They finally make their way to the pharmacy and enter the open door. And this is King's Pharmacy.
Yeah.
Immediately, once they get inside, David snatches a Hellboy comic and sticks it in his back pocket, telling everyone to get what they need so they can get the hell out of there. Now, I read that Frank Darabont wanted it to be a Punisher comic, but things had went so badly with Thomas Jane and the producers that he was like, no.
That's right.
Damn.
He's not in the second one.
No, he's not.
That's
And
right.
so they did Hellboy because I guess Thomas Jane is friends with Ron Perlman.
All right.
So he
That's
switched it to
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
I also like that that's the first thing he does. Is
He promised his son.
Yeah.
He is just a good dad.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I'll get you a comic book.
I noticed that right away too. I was like, oh, it's the first thing he grabbed.
It is. But David and Ollie jump over the pharmacy counter and get the burn medicine for Joe. And Mrs. Repler's like, no, go over there. It's like, so maybe she does case the joint.
It's like the
but,
code is 3-2.
Yeah.
but they start filling shopping bags with pain medicine and antibiotics as the rest of the group roams the store. There's a strange rustling sound, and Dan tells them to hurry it up because something's in here. Ollie and David finish and hop over the counter, and they stand in silence until Jim finally sees it and begins to call out in protest. The ceiling is covered in people,
Yeah.
like held upside down, dead, and cocooned within thick, I'll call it spider web, for lack of a better term.
They would see me disappear because I would run right back to the fucking grocery store.
I gave it the old college try.
Yeah.
Suddenly, something reaches out and grabs Jim's shoulder, causing him to scream. Jim has a rough time the whole time they're in the
Yeah.
Does.
He's kind of useless.
Honestly,
a little bit.
Fucking Repler was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the MP from earlier. He's strung up in the web, and Jessup and David try to pull him down, but the web is like glue. The MP just keeps saying that he's sorry and that it's all their fault. He opens his shirt to reveal moving bulges on the skin of his chest and stomach. Finally, the bulges on his face crack open and small spiders crawl out of the hole in his face.
It is. I thought the bugs.
Horrifying?
Yeah.
The bugs earlier made my skin crawl, but this is like
So much worse.
10 times
So
worse.
much
no,
worse.
yeah.
A giant bug lands on the rack next to Jim, and Jim screams again until Ollie shoots it. More bugs come out, shooting webs at them, but the webs sizzle when they hit the ground. Just not a good sign.
No.
No. Dude tries to fucking Neo it.
He does.
Yeah.
But Bobby is hit on the leg by the web, and the jeans and the skin of his leg just melt off. David hits a bug with his axe, but the bug is like, this is mine now,
Yeah.
and just crawls away with the axe still in its back.
Yoink.
But David runs to Bobby and ties a belt around his leg. The MP begins to scream and shake until he falls to the ground. We now see that his back has been ripped open, and as he hits the ground, spiders spill out of him and crawl everywhere.
I'm going to throw up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will join you.
It's, again, the mix of practical and CG. This marriage and this scene, this is my favorite and least favorite scene in the whole film. But
It's so fucking scary.
it is, and it's just you put yourself there with them, and thanks to the help of that cinematography,
Yeah.
you feel like you are.
You do.
And you just want to be back in aisle 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it started off so well.
It
did.
Like they immediately got back there. They got the burn cream. They got antibiotics. Fucking
Yeah.
pain. Like they were killing the game
Too well.
too
Yeah.
well.
And this is your trial run.
Yes. You're right. But the random man that came with them, the red shirt, is webbed in the face and falls to the pharmacy floor. They make their way to the exit, but a bug jumps at Mrs. Repler and she lights that bitch up with a can of bug spray and a lighter.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You love to see it.
They did have her actually fucking do that.
What?
Like she lit that fireball herself.
That old lady's a badass, man.
I guess in real life and.
She is.
But it was a mop head that she lit on fire, and then they dropped it to the floor and pulled it away. And so, because you see the bug run away,
Yeah.
Right.
and Darabont said it was an homage to The Thing,
Oh, that's perfect.
but I love that a lot.
Did you realize that I'm just going to talk about the old lady some more for a second, but did you realize that she's the wife, the sheriff's wife in Misery?
She
She is. She's also Bunny McDougal in Sex and the City, but y'all don't watch that.
I don't understand, and I will not respond to it.
She also, that Dolores Claiborne audiobook that I keep preaching about, she's the one that reads it.
Oh.
And
Hey.
she's fucking chef's kiss, dude. She's so good.
Dude, she is in Stephen King's.
Yeah, she's a badass. But as they leave, we see spiders swarm on the man on the floor, and a bug is just going after that neck meat. They prefer that cut, apparently.
Their favorite thing.
It is. A creature jumps in their way, but Dan impales it in the head with his sharpened stick and throws it away when Ollie is out of bullets.
Yeah.
Man, you get a bug cam shot like MTV Sphere. And it's some rough
Yeah.
shit. It's like, this is what it'd be like to be that thing.
Yeah.
And to be stabbed by Dan.
But Bobby dies and they're forced to leave him behind. They run from the pharmacy and spiders swarm Bobby's body and the creatures go toward the door like, and don't come back.
Hey, they own the pharmacy. That's fine.
Right? You guys can have it. But back at the food house, Bud stands waiting next to the door and Jim slams against it screaming.
Yeah.
Stereotypical jump scare style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bud opens the doors and everyone runs inside. David hugs Billy, looking traumatized as fuck, as Jim continues to cry and scream on the floor, and it fades to black.
Why was he crying?
He was shook. It's like everybody went through that.
Yeah.
But he was affected the most.
But he did the least.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, but he didn't do anything.
No.
It doesn't matter.
He didn't even fight one of them off for fear of his life.
No.
He just
Listen,
screamed.
He just
City boy.
screamed. That's it.
City boy, don't be condescending
No.
to Jim. Okay?
Fuck
You better count your teeth.
Yeah.
But later, Mrs. Carmody preaches to a group as David wakes up in another aisle. Amanda tells him that he's been asleep for most of the day. He came in and just fucking checked out. Ollie comes over to tell him that Joe died of his burns while David was asleep. David says that he thought he was dreaming Mrs. Carmody's voice, but Amanda tells him that she's got everybody whipped up. She's convinced people that she's a psychic.
Great. Their predictions
Right?
are very fucking easy to. Anybody could do that.
Mrs. Repler says that she's in on the getting out of here plan, but David shuts it down. After what happened at the pharmacy, he's not going to be responsible for anyone else dying. Ambrose helps him to his feet and he goes over to the congregation. Ambrose, I feel like, is almost like a peripheral character, but he's like a big deal. Nobody pays attention to him.
No. And I feel like the parts played well.
It
Yeah.
really is. But I don't know if he's just outshined or what, but he's one of the good ones. But Mrs. Carmody has a big group now, and the loudest among them now is Jim.
Yeah.
After
He's like,
what?
expiation.
He's like, well, what we went through in the pharmacy, I was a big part of it.
I was the hero over there.
Yeah, I don't know if they told
Weren't you just trying to kick this lady's ass yesterday?
Yeah.
He was. And again, this is day 2.
Yep. But Dan says that Jim's mind snapped in the pharmacy, obviously. Amanda says that it's only been 2 days and this is already happening. Ollie volunteers to hide some bags of groceries for them at the front of the store. They make it clear that it's David's plan and vehicle, so it's up to him. But even Amanda is on board now.
Right.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Well, she's getting them all worked up,
Yes.
and you know what that's going to
And
lead
it's
to.
almost everyone now.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so scary right now is in this moment, it's like, look, if we go out, we might live. If we stay here, we will die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are monsters we're talking
And
about.
Oh,
humans
yeah.
inside.
Yeah,
Like, that's terrifying.
That's the real terror here, folks.
Yes. But David says he wants a better understanding of what the mist even is. And after hearing what the MP said, he's going to go talk to the military guys. Because I know the spider monsters came, but let's not forget. And he's like, it's all our fault.
Now, in all fairness,
He did.
I know.
up until that shit, it sounded like he was apologizing for scaring Jim.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. But then when he started in on that, I was like, oh, well, then maybe there's
What's that now?
more to it.
But they find Jessup sitting alone at the checkout stands, but he doesn't know where the other two guys are. When asked, Jessup says he knows nothing about what's going on with the mist. Dan comes to tell David that they've checked everywhere but the loading dock, and the other two privates aren't here. Jim notices the group as they head back to the loading dock. He does a dramatic what?
Yeah.
Double take. In the loading dock, Jessup calls out to them as they're searching, and Amanda finds them hanging from the rafters. Jessup is like, they said they would do it, but I didn't believe them.
Yeah.
Now, when we came to you and we're like, where are your friends at? Didn't you think, they said they were going to kill themselves?
Well, I mean, first of all, why wouldn't you believe them?
Exactly. This is
that's
literally,
not
this crazy bitch over here is like, it's the end of days.
Yeah.
That's when people start doing very dramatic shit.
Yeah.
And they've already seen a ton of people die.
Yeah.
He said straight up that after he told them what the MP said in the fucking pharmacy is when they said that. At what point is it like, nah, they were just joking?
They're just being dramatic.
They're like that.
But David's like, this is because of that Arrowhead project, isn't it? He says that this is some kind of military fuck up. And then out of nowhere, Jim grabs Jessup and pulls him back into the store saying, I've got you now. What?
You weren't after him.
Nope. Nope. But back in the store, he throws Jessup to the ground, saying it's their fault that all of this is happening. And that's why his friends hung themselves. They knew all along. Jessup pleads to them. He didn't do anything. He's just stationed there. In fact, he's a local and almost everyone here knows him. Mrs. Carmody grabs him by his throat and tells him to quit whining or she'll cut his tongue out.
They're
A woman of God.
Yeah.
She's kind of just testing the waters.
How far are they going to let me go with this?
Like, can I cut his tongue out, guys?
I'll cut his tongue out.
Yeah. Nobody said no. Sure.
All right.
Bring him here.
Jessup finally admits that all he heard were rumors, that they believed there were other dimensions and they were trying to make a window to look and see what was on the other side. He says a hole must have ripped out and that world came spilling through and into ours. It wasn't him. It was the scientists up there on the mountain. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I read that there was a scene that was supposed to be at the beginning of the movie. And I'm so fucking glad they didn't put it in because it's supposed to be the scientists up on the mountain. And one of them is like, are you sure we should be doing this during a thunderstorm?
Oh my God. During a thunderstorm.
And then the mist starts coming through and they're like, it's not going to make it through the glass, right? And
they're like, holy cats.
Yeah. So, so then when you see the mist, it's not a mystery if you start the film like that. That is so cheesy and silly. I'm so glad that they didn't do that.
That seems like, okay, I feel like a lot of this, like I said, is a throwback.
Yeah.
That would have been too much of a throwback.
Yeah.
That's on some Ed Wood shit.
Are you sure we should be doing this during a thunderstorm? That's
the greatest line ever.
That is so funny to me. But Mrs. Carmody calls him a Judas. This is all punishment for going against God's will by basically doing science.
Well, that's how a lot of people think.
Yeah. Well, how dare we? She says that the creatures of hell have been let loose and it's all Jessup's fault. They grab Jessup and literally start just beating his ass.
Yeah.
When David tries to help him, Jim punches him in the face, which I feel like that was personal.
That was payback.
Yes.
I did want to say whenever she's going over her list of the ills of the world,
yeah,
she mentions abortions.
Yeah.
And this dude in the back screams, abortion! And it's like,
What
are you in? It sounds like he is a big supporter. Like, I'm like,
he's like, woo!
Yeah.
Like when they say your hometown.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Chicago,
abortion.
yeah. Like, it was so weird. But
he's just her hype man.
she also fucking talks shit about walking on the moon.
Yep. I said doing science. That's our big flaw.
The moon.
It's the moon.
It's the moon.
The moon belongs to everyone.
Yeah, I heard that in the song once.
But Jessup is thrown around and hit until he is thrown into the butcher, who fucking stabs him in the stomach. Mm-hmm. This part, every time I see it, is sobering almost.
Yeah.
Like we've hit an entirely new level here.
Just a couple things here. Number one, I thought the first stab was an accident.
Yeah, no.
And then he keeps going to town.
Yeah.
The second thing is that on commentary, they said that the crew kind of had to take a breather after this.
I bet.
Because the pandemonium of the crowd was actually getting to them.
I bet.
Yeah.
And because even watching it on the screen, it is a bit much.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to handle.
But like you said, he keeps stabbing him. And even Mrs. Carmody looks shook.
Yes.
Until she seizes the moment and she's like, feed him to the beast.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to be like, I have wasted
Too
my life.
far. I made a terrible mistake.
Too scary, Carl. But instead, she's
like, okay, yeah. She's just yes-anding the whole time. Like
that was like you said earlier, if we stay here, we're going to die.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
now there's no doubt.
Yeah. That's fucking terrifying to think. Would that really happen? You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
Honestly, obviously, I've never been in this situation.
Well, no, but
it does not seem crazy
like
to me
2
at all.
days.
Yeah.
2 days. 2 days.
It took you 2 days to fucking just turn around and be like, fuck it.
I have zero faith in humanity. I think it would take 1 day.
The Wi-Fi goes down.
Exactly.
I'm
Right.
scared.
I see. I'm being fed to the beast.
But so her followers carry him, bleeding and screaming, and throw him out into the mist. The people that have sense stay behind in the aisle after losing the fight. Jessup screams and bangs on the door, but Jim locks it. We see a silhouette of something fucking giant behind him. Jessup places his bloody hand on the door and softly asks, please, before being snatched away. He leaves nothing behind but that bloody handprint.
It's like a crab monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't want to know, frankly, but
like a giant Zoidberg.
just not as
nice.
friendly.
Yeah, not as nice.
I did want to point out that this entire little subplot with Jessup, not in the novella.
No.
And it's so interesting. Like, again, like we talk about with Mike Flanagan, whenever he adapts Stephen King, anytime he adds something, it's for the better.
Yep.
Right.
I feel like Frank Darabont is the exact same.
Yep. He was an appetizer to Mike Flanagan.
Yeah. He whet our appetite.
He
And then,
did. But Mrs. Carmody is like, the beast will leave us alone tonight. It's like, bitch, you do not know. You
That
just fed it.
is a guess.
Yeah,
Again,
at best.
at best.
But she says that tomorrow they're just going to have to wait and see. And then it fades to black.
I did want to point out as well, like, there's a very odd moment before it ends where Billy just appears on screen and hugs David.
Yeah.
He got pushed on like a stage cat. And it makes me laugh every time because I'm like, why wasn't he just in the aisle already?
There were 6 Billies and they trained them
Right.
each to do a different.
He was the hugger.
But later, David wakes up next to Billy, who is awake and just looking at him. David tells him that he will never leave him again, and Billy asks him to make his very best unbreakable promise that he will never let those monsters get him. David promises. Billy tells him that he loves him, and David cries as he tells his son that he loves him too. Watching it this time, and I've seen this about 100 times,
Yeah.
I was like, am I about to start crying? I don't know why. There were 2 parts in this movie where I'm like, it like got me right in the
Right.
feels.
I don't have kids, so no.
You're like, fuck that kid.
Yeah, I don't care what happens.
I'll feed you to it right now.
You're next, Billy. I did want to point out from the commentary, I learned that this scene was actually filmed during the daytime, and it was placed right before David woke up from his long nap. And so it was supposed to have taken place right when he got back. And then Frank Darabont realized that that scene might be happening too soon. And he moved it to where it is in the film, but he had them mess with the footage to look like it was filmed.
Wow.
At night.
Oh, all right.
And so it's so convincing that it's like candlelit,
yeah.
but it was just bright as day whenever they really filmed it.
I feel like this works so much better here
Yes.
because like they've just seen the worst shit.
Right.
Not only is he confronted with the scary shit that's out there, he's confronted with the scary shit that's in here.
Yeah.
And so what are you supposed to do? And something that happens later.
Yeah.
I feel like this is perfect right here.
Yeah, if it happened then,
It's kind of, it would be swallowed up, I think, by
Yeah.
the fucking murdering of
Yeah.
Private Jessup.
and when they're talking about the monsters, which monsters?
Yeah, all you've seen is
Now.
the little ones. We
Yeah.
just saw that fucking giant Zoidberg thing out in the
Yeah.
mist.
And Carmody.
Yeah. Ooh. The worst one. But we cut to Amanda quietly waking David to tell him that it's dawn. The group assembles and Ollie says he stashed 5 bags of groceries at the check stand so they can grab them on their way out the door. Again, the man.
Yes.
We've got David, Billy, Amanda, Ollie, Mrs. Repler, Ambrose, Myron,
Yeah.
Dan, and Bud. Myron's like, no.
Yeah.
That was your friend.
My friend is a
Yeah.
lost cause.
Yes. They quietly head to the checkout stand, but the groceries are gone. That's when they notice Mrs. Carmody sitting with a knife and the bags around her, like, oh, we're stealing food now.
Going somewhere.
Well, first off, you don't work here.
No.
So who's
We got the
food?
manager with us.
Yeah. Also, how long's that milk been out?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Be all
she
warm.
doesn't mind.
Straight from the bottle, so she can steal.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
You know?
Earlier when she was like, God says she's eating a fucking candy bar.
Do you pay for that?
But she refuses to let them leave as it is against God's will. Her followers begin to flock to her, including the butcher, who's still holding his knife, which stay away from that motherfucker.
Yeah, we've seen what he can do.
She says that she's made it clear that she's God's vessel as she gets up and continues to drink her milk. David tells her that they haven't interfered with her and they're only asking for the same. Mrs. Carmody goes on a whole rant about how it's their fault the monsters have come because they've mocked their faith. And then the other shoe drops. It's them that the sacrificial blood needs to come from. Expiation. Everything starts to get crazy now as Mrs. Carmody decides that they'll sacrifice Billy, demanding that her followers grab him from Amanda. And then she's like, get the whore too.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry, what? She's testing the waters, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They were fine with the kid.
Yeah.
And I don't like this bitch. So
She slapped me earlier.
Yeah.
yeah. But she's literally screaming, kill them all. And a fight ensues until a shot rings out. Mrs. Carmody glass jar of milk shatters. We see that Ollie is holding the smoking gun. Mrs. Carmody falls to her knees and Ollie puts another one right in the center of her forehead. He turns his gun on Jim and the butcher and they drop their knives. Ollie remarks to David that he killed her and David's like, thank you, Ollie.
Yes. Thank you, Ollie.
Yes. Is this them dropping their weapons? Is it just self-preservation, or do you think it's them coming to their senses?
No, it's self-preservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think so at all.
All
I
right.
would hope they'd be like, what the fuck
Yeah.
are we doing?
Well,
He's
they
like, I
didn't-
just killed a
They
guy.
didn't look at their hands.
No,
So I guess.
they're just like, no, man, we're cool, we're cool. You got a gun, I got a knife.
Yeah.
We're cool.
I think there's a saying about this.
Yeah. But a woman is like, you killed her.
That was her first follower.
Yeah. Ugh,
So she's her biggest fan. Now she's Carmody.
biggest
Right.
Now she's Prune Tracy.
But Ollie tells David that he never would have done that if there'd been any other way. And he's like, that's why I said thank you.
Yeah.
They open the doors and run out into the mist. We get one last shot of Mrs. Carmody, arms spread like Jesus on the cross, as a pool of blood spreads around her head.
I love it.
Yeah.
The blood in the milk is an interesting.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic. Also, the blood around her head and the bullet hole, I heard, were CG.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
Yeah.
Didn't notice
Yeah.
it.
No.
Yeah. Out in the mist, Myron immediately falls and twists his ankle. Ambrose and Bud stay behind to help him along. The rest of the group searches for David's car. Ollie finds the car and opens the doors just like David said to. He turns with a big smile on his face, but the rest of them just stare at him in horror. Ollie turns to see the biggest creature yet silhouetted in the mist. It snatches Ollie up and it's like Zoidberg claws.
Yeah.
Like a crab, you mean?
Yeah.
Crab claws. That's my point of reference
Yeah.
for shellfish. They're all Zoidberg. In the mist, a creature takes Myron down from between Ambrose and Bud, and they both take off in different directions. Back to Ollie, the giant creature rips him in half in front of the rest of the group, and the gun falls on the hood of David's car. Satisfied, the creature just fucking walks away.
Yeah.
It's like, see, stuff like this is, it's like,
You're just fucking with them.
Yeah.
but once you're satiated, they kind of just fuck off.
Yeah.
So it's a little
But he
weird.
didn't even eat him. He just ripped him.
Well,
Maybe he's like, I'm going to go eat this.
He was angry.
What?
If I had to be a crab creature, I'd be pretty pissed off too.
Had to be.
It's his lot in life.
It's a living. But But the group piles into the car. David honks his horn to try to get the attention of Bud and Ambrose. We see Bud stumbling blindly back to the store, and Ambrose is just taken down by a group of web creatures, which really sucks.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
He screams the whole way.
He does.
It's very sad. My
Why are you
laughter is
laughing?
not.
No.
Sorry.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
It's very sad. Back in the car, David notices the gun on the hood and opens his door to reach it. Amanda and Billy are like, no!
Dude, can
Be
you
quiet.
not scream?
Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet.
The door is open and all they are doing is just screaming out of
Yeah.
it.
No, literally like screaming at the top of their lungs. But he strains to reach it, and a creature runs toward him, clicking on the ground, but David snags the gun and gets back inside. The creature jumps on the hood and slams against the windshield, cracking it. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
It crawls across the car and leaves. David starts the car, turns on the lights, and they're off. We're down to David, Billy, Amanda, Dan, and Mrs. Repler. We hear choral music as David drives close to the store, the lights shining on the faces of everyone inside, including Bud now. I'm surprised they opened the door for him.
Well, Carmody's not there anymore.
I guess maybe they did come back to their
See? I did want to say a couple things here. Number one, I love the shots of the lights piercing through the mist from the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I love their, I guess, victory lap.
And that's what it was.
Yeah. I was
You
like,
know?
damn, you didn't have to do
They didn't
that.
have to do that at all. But I do want to call out this music. It's from the band, I think it's called Dead Can Dance. And it was a song that Frank Darabont had found years earlier. And as he was writing The Mist, he had always wanted to use that. So that was always the plan.
It works. He's like,
Oh,
we're going
yeah.
to play this the entire ending of the film.
Yeah. Oh, and I do want to shout out Jelly, who is our friend and tattoo artist.
Yes.
At the Surly Skull, she actually played some of this band's music the last time I got tattooed, and this woman's voice is otherworldly.
I mean, she sounds like a choir singer or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful.
It's unbelievable, but it fits so well,
Yeah.
and it punctuates the. I don't know. It's just so odd
just
because
works.
it's not what you
Yeah.
would expect here.
No.
I like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they've been so good with music the whole film. Like, there's no bang. Like, when something happens, like, shit is just happening. Like, it's realistic.
You know, now that you mention it, the music is very subdued.
Yeah.
You don't even really think about it
but I feel
until
like-
this moment.
Yeah, I feel like that makes you feel like you're in it more.
Yeah.
Like, it feels more realistic.
Because you're like, is that a soundtrack?
Man, this score is great. But we cut to them driving past the mailbox labeled the Draytons. The entire yard is covered with webs. David shines his light and looks as far as he can until he sees Steph, cocooned in the webbing with her eyes closed. It's so sad.
It's very sad.
David, tears in his eyes, tells Amanda that he told Steph he was going to fix the window that his grandfather's tree broke. He breaks down and sobs, and Amanda offers her condolences as she cradles Billy, who thankfully is asleep.
Yeah.
Man, so they're going to have to explain this to him later.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? Maybe not. No, because if you're like, hey, we tried to get to the house, we couldn't.
Yeah.
We'll try later.
Yeah, we'll go back.
Yeah. We'll double back.
Poor mom.
I know.
Oh, no,
damn.
for sure.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
She didn't do anything, man. Like,
And imagine how much you would hate David right now if him and Andrea, her name's Andrea in The
Right.
Walking Dead. If him and Amanda had banged.
yeah.
Like, you'd be like, you don't fucking care.
It's all right. I called Dude Dale earlier. I like, not that she died, but I like that they have that. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
That
it wasn't
they
like
tried.
she didn't just come out of bushes and be like, oh, hey, I'm
Yeah.
alive.
She's got her sleeves cut off.
Yeah.
She's been fucking up spiders for 2 days.
Well, in the book, he talks about please don't punish her for what I did with Amanda.
Oh.
And then as they're about to leave, he has a kind of flash where he's like, they're both going to be in the car together. Like, that's going to be
Whoops.
something.
He's like,
Yeah.
don't tell nobody about this. I will tell your husband.
David pulls himself together and says they'll go as far as the gas can take them. Amanda says that maybe they can get out of the mist. So, she's hopeful.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So that music starts up again as they drive through the mist-filled streets, passing a school bus with a dead child inside and overturned police vehicles.
With the school bus, I felt like Frank Darabont was like, what's the most fucked up thing I could do?
Dead kids.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that's very interesting is that this entire sequence of them driving was filmed in that half of the studio that was the parking lot, quote unquote. They just kept moving shit around.
That's cool.
So cool. Budget filmmaking.
I know. But finally, David stops as an impossibly huge creature crosses the street. The car shakes with every step, and everyone in the car is speechless as David drives on. Were the tentacles on that?
It was on its body.
Yeah, it looked like it.
I'm like, how long are these things?
Yeah, absolutely not.
That thing.
It was fucking huge.
Yeah.
The Zoidberg monster, it was like 12 of them.
It was.
Yeah.
It was like I mean, if I saw that, I'd be like, is there a cliff we can just fucking
I'm done.
careen off of?
Check, please. But everyone is speechless as David drives on. He drives until the engine sputters and we see that the fuel tank is on empty. The vehicle finally stops. Dan reasons that no one can say they didn't give it a good shot, and Mrs. Repler agrees. We hear the sound of the creatures growling.
I'm sorry, but you just drove around a little.
Listen,
Yeah.
they went as far as they could. What are they supposed to do?
Yeah, but I mean, you need to go on a...
Okay, this is
a
where
tour.
I feel like I'm going to die alone on this fucking hill, because I was talking to Dad that we were covering this movie, and it sounds like you're agreeing with some shit that he said. But we'll talk about it more in a minute. I think I'm alone, but...
We'll see.
But David turns to look at everyone in the car, except for Billy, who's still asleep. They seem to have a full conversation without saying a word. David takes out the gun and Dan silently nods. David empties the gun and counts 4 bullets. But there are 5 of us.
That made me laugh out loud. I was like, come on, man. You don't have to hold your
2 free
audiences.
passes.
Yeah.
David says he'll figure something out. They all sit silently for a moment as Amanda quietly sobs. And this is the other part where I was like, I'm about to fucking start crying. Like, she just sells it. Like, she's fucking terrified.
She's a great actress.
She's amazing. And then Billy chooses this moment to wake up and look at his father with wide eyes.
Good morning, son.
Yeah. Look at the flowers. We cut to the outside of the vehicle and we see and hear 4 gunshots as they light up the windows. We see Amanda slump over and we hear David start to scream. We cut back to the car as David continues to scream and rage. We see Dan and Mrs. Repler dead behind him. He tries to shoot himself in the mouth as he continues to scream, but the gun is empty. He steps out into the mist and screams for the creatures to get him.
I'm sorry I'm laughing.
I was like, oh my God.
Look, here's the deal. His performance is chilling and this moment is haunting.
It's awful.
Absolutely awful. However, when he turns back to the vehicle, that little twist and shout that he does, it's an odd choice performance-wise. And I just...
Shut up.
Look, he is a great actor and everything around that movement... The Isley Brothers. Everything around that is top-notch, fantastic.
So stupid.
Pulls at your heartstrings. Right at him.
So we'll leave it at that. Right?
Yes.
But when he is like braced up against the car, you can see Amanda dead inside.
Yes.
So you really see everybody except for Billy, which kind of is good.
It's dark enough, man.
Yeah, we don't need to see another dead kid. But finally, a creature cries out and David turns to face his fate. But instead of the creature, military vehicles drive toward him as the mist begins to thin and disappear. The choir music starts again, and vehicles of survivors drive by, including the woman with her kids at home and her children.
Carol?
Yes, Carol.
Carol, yeah. And she looks at him cold as shit as she rides by.
Should have walked me out.
Should have seen a lady home.
Yeah. The thing about that is I heard on the commentary that it was just going to be left ambiguous.
What happened to her?
Yeah, her fate. But then Jeffrey DeMunn talked to Frank Darabont, and he was like, man, that woman, what's her name? Melissa McBride?
Bring that bitch back.
Yeah. They said she did amazing. You should think about bringing her back. And he's like, hey, maybe I can stick her in the Envoy.
Yeah.
It makes it so like the ending's already so fucking bleak and sad, and that makes it so much worse. Y'all could have not gone through any of that.
No.
None of that.
Anybody that had the courage to walk her outside.
Oh my God. But military personnel use flamethrowers on the bug creatures and the webs as helicopters go by. David drops to his knees and begins to scream as 2 military people stand over him. More tanks and cars drive by, and you can tell he's just broken.
Yeah.
But it fades to black.
His shouting and crying and
Yeah.
screaming
Yeah.
as the choir wails as
Yeah.
well. And then the sight of them taking care of business in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, this is one of the most shocking endings
Yes.
I've ever seen on a film.
And then the thing is, especially if you go into it having read the book,
Right.
because in the book, he wrote all this, which is a trope that T really doesn't like.
Yeah.
No,
When you read the
because-
whole story and they're like, even as I'm writing this now,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
you
because
wrote very
you've been-
descriptively.
He bellowed. You could have just said he said it.
But he writes the whole story of the mist down, and then they stop at a Howard Johnson's and he leaves it on the counter and is like, hopefully somebody will find this. We're
Right.
gonna keep going. He heard a sound on the radio. All it said was Hartford. That's all he heard. So he's like, well, that's where we're going. And he says he whispers in his son's ear as he's asleep the words Hartford and hope, and that they're going to try their best. And that's it.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
know if they make it or not, but it's a hopeful ending.
Yeah.
Literally, they say Hartford Hope. It's a hopeful ending. So if you're going into it like they got away from the store. Yeah, his wife's dead. Oh, that sucks, but they're going to make it. You thought.
Yeah.
Like, it would almost be better if David died too.
Yeah,
Because then he
100%.
wouldn't
Right.
know.
The thing is that that's so interesting to me is that Darabont said on commentary, he's like, everybody thinks I wrote this ending, but I really didn't. I was like, what? He goes, Stephen King wrote this ending when you think about it.
Well, yeah.
I said, how? Well, I was, at this point, I was having a full conversation with the screen.
How, Frankie D?
And he's like, well, I'll tell you.
Well, listen up, Travis.
But what he said was, in the novel, King had written a passage where he had said kind of what David said in the car, where he's like, I'll find a way, kind of a thing about himself. He
Yeah.
said, because in the novel, I think there was only 3 bullets for 4 people or something like that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
he had-
I think it's Dan that doesn't make it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he says, if it comes down to that, I'll find a way for myself.
Yeah.
And that's the ambiguous line that Darabont used as a jumping off point.
He's like, oh, that's how it's going to end.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, what's the darkest thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this.
But this is what Dad was like, the ending's fucking stupid.
Well, he said he's coming at it from the standpoint of a father. He said, if this is me, my kid, and some strangers, I'm going to give it a few minutes.
Well, yeah.
A few minutes.
Literally, because right after, I mean, no joke. Oh, but shit, honestly, if you think about it, Carmody's right. The Mist ended after he killed
Oh my God.
Amanda and Billy. I don't like that.
I don't even know what to say. I literally never looked at it that
No,
way.
I don't think so, because the army guys were coming right behind it.
Yeah, now
Now,
Well, no, it
No,
kind of
they've
looks
been
like
coming.
it's like there's a long
Kind
road.
of looks like they were just following it, like with the cleanup crew.
Fair.
sure, Mrs. Carmody's trash.
Yeah.
There's no way she was right.
We all agree.
Right.
One thing I did want to point out is that Stephen King loved the ending. And he said, I guess he sent an email to Frank Darabont and he said, every generation needs an ending like Night of the Living Dead, where there is no hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And it's effective as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And the other thing about Night of the Living Dead is that this film, Frank Darabont had planned to shoot it in black and white,
Oh, shit.
which would have only fit in with that 50s
Yeah.
Yes.
kind of thing. But I think on the Blu-ray, which I don't own, there is a black and white version you can watch. And I'd love to do that.
All right.
Frank didn't give you one when you were
No,
talking to him?
I was like, but why, Frank?
So I have to ask, what did you guys think of The Mist?
I love this movie.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I still enjoyed it while watching it for the show. Not saying that I don't enjoy movies, but some, are a little more than the other. You got to pause and take notes and
Right,
look up
right.
things and whatever. And, but I still like sitting there watching it. I was like, oh man.
It's so
and I know what's
good.
going to happen, but it's still like, oh shit, really?
Mrs.
Yeah.
Carmody. What do you think about the ending?
I'll be honest. I wish he would have waited a little longer. At least, come on.
Okay, but in my mind, you don't know how long they've been driving. They went through a sign that said something about Portland.
Right.
So, I mean, they've been going and going and going, and now they're out of gas, and you hear these creatures.
Okay,
and you got Zoidberg
but-
fucking out here, and that's why I feel like that scene was so well placed, where his son is like, promise me you won't let them get me.
I get that, but here's the thing, though. You've been driving for how long now?
Days.
Okay, and
Just kidding.
We don't know that.
yeah. Well, but regardless, though, you drove until you had no more gas.
Yeah.
Okay, so you haven't been attacked yet.
Right.
Now you ran out of gas. You still haven't seen anything yet.
I mean, you saw that.
Yeah, but we just ran out of gas.
Okay.
That's the point.
No, yeah. So we're chilling, right?
I think
There's
they
no
should
danger yet.
They should have slept or something.
Or just hung out for
Yeah.
a little bit. Let's give it a second before we do anything too rash.
Listen, we say this knowing that the fucking flamethrowers are 2 minutes
Well,
away.
no, I would hope, please, love
Don't-
of my
don't
life, if something
Give it a few
happens,
minutes.
Yeah.
wait a little bit.
I'll wait as long as I
Right?
can, but
It's like,
and give me the courtesy of blowing my brains out in my sleep. Let me go back to sleep.
yeah, yeah. Please just wait a little
yeah,
bit.
he could have waited until Billy fell back asleep. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Or when the car started shaking again.
yeah,
Pop,
there
pop,
was
pop, pop.
there
Yeah.
was nothing around.
Nope.
It's a hard decision.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, please don't kill me and the kids right away. Wi-Fi's out. Fuck it, we're dying. It's like, no.
I got 3 bullets.
Yeah.
Sidebar, I'm looking now and it looks like that Carmody thing is a fan theory.
Really? I've never
Like,
heard that before.
A lot of people are saying it. I like having thoughts that are mine, and then I hate looking up those thoughts and realizing everybody's fucking having them. It's like, I'm not special at all.
But you arrived at it independently.
Independently.
Right, there you go.
But anyway, I completely agree with JP. I love this movie. There is something so... It's hard to explain. There's something old-fashioned about it.
Yeah.
It just feels like it was a movie that was made with a lot of care and attention to detail.
Yeah.
One thing I did read is that the bullets, they used 12 bullets in the film.
Wow.
Oh.
It's funny because I always say after I watch it, next time I'm going to count.
Yeah.
But then I get so into the movie that I don't think about it.
I think, like I said at the beginning, it's a shame that a lot of the awesome moments in the film kind of get overshadowed in discussions because of the ending.
Yeah.
But the ending is so impactful, it's kind of hard not
Yes,
to.
Yeah.
it is.
But no, I think this is great. There are a few things that, little, nitpicks here and there, especially with some of the CG that doesn't seem of the scene.
Right.
But I mean, it's also understandable that they were working with what they were working with.
Yeah.
And so you can't be too harsh on that. But the characters, the story, the acting, I love this movie.
This little Frank Darabont crew that they
Yeah.
have here is wow. Wow.
And that's one of my favorite things is when I see a director find their people
Yeah.
and keep fucking using them.
Yeah. We
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking about that and Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, we keep bringing up Mike Flanagan.
I love Mike Flanagan.
Is that your answer to what you think of
That's
the
all
Mist?
I got on Twitter.
Right.
What'd you think of the Mist?
I love Mike Flanagan.
I was talking to Anthony Jerome M on Twitter the other day, and I, of course, mentioned Mike Flanagan, and he was like, yes, and I know his name solely because
Well, you're screaming from the rooftops
I
enough.
love Mike Flanagan.
He is the best.
He is. But back to this film that Mike Flanagan did not direct or write.
He watched it probably.
He probably watched it. But Frank Darabont does that same thing that I love so much in Flanagan's work. Obviously, this came before, but you can tell he loved the source material. He's invested in this weird fucking universe that Stephen King has made. Like, it's just, I just appreciate it so much. And the casting is crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I would not, I don't know that I would have cast Marcia Gay Harden as Mrs. Carmody because she's like this big overweight lady in like a bright like yellow or lime green suit or something.
She's Paddington Bear.
There.
No, but if you go
She
from the description,
she fucking kills it though.
Yeah.
she does not match the description
No.
in the novella, but she's perfect. I also read that Andre Braugher had to convince her to take the role because she was
Oh,
afraid
man.
of doing a horror movie. She said she didn't know if she could do it, and he's like, take it.
Oh.
And he's so good. Everybody's just so good in this. Ollie, everything I see him in now. He was in one of the Captain America movies.
Oh yeah.
And we were
That's right.
watching it, and I was like, "It's Ollie.
Yeah.
He's just Ollie to me."
For me, I remember even as like whatever I was, 16, I was like, that's a star-making performance right there.
Yeah.
Like,
That kid's
kid's going places.
But I love this movie. I feel like I would have loved it with the ambiguous ending that I was expecting. But I'm a sucker for those movies that just fucking punch you in the gut. And this does.
Right.
And Darabont's guts sticking to his guns
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He was so right.
to fight for it.
And
I
it
mean,
bums me out that people, because I wonder if he ever doubted himself, you know? People being like, no, that ending's just not going to
Yeah.
work. I'm so glad he's stuck with it. But I guess we'll move along to ratings. And I don't often know what I'm going to rate a movie as soon as I finish watching it, but today I did.
Oh.
I love this movie. Anything that, and we talked about this in 28 Days Later, anything that really highlights, like, yeah, there's some really scary supernatural. That's why I loved The Walking Dead at first. There's some scary supernatural shit happening, but what is scarier is us
yeah.
when we're taken out of that comfort zone. Just like David says, when you take away the electricity, when you can't call for help, like, it breaks us down to some fucking like animal. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's very scary because this rings very true.
You could see it happening.
Absolutely. But I'm not going to ramble anymore. On a scale from 1 to 10, expiations. I'm going to give The Mist 9 out of 10 expiations. I really love this movie. There's some nitpicky stuff here, but it's fantastic. I don't get sick of it.
No.
I mean,
Right.
how old is this movie? And I've been watching it consistently
Oh,
since
yeah.
it came out.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like it's not in the conversation enough. Like, people talk about Stephen King adaptations, and this one's not really at the table very much.
Right.
You know, that's weird.
You know? It's a shame.
I think maybe
Oh,
the
yeah.
ending made people too
Yeah.
sad.
Right.
I'm never talking about that again. But I will open up the floor.
Well, I know we've said a lot of good things about the movie.
Yeah, but you had your own rating system.
Right. So I'm going to continue to say good things because I really like the movie.
Right.
I do understand what you're saying when you're like, I don't understand why this movie, nobody talks about it that much or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. You know what I mean? I agree with you. It's weird how this movie is good. The acting is great. The CGI is kind of dated, but I mean, if the movie's good enough to where that doesn't bother you. It didn't me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh man, this is, you know,
The
you can
fucking tentacles.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah, it's like, but you know what I mean? The story gets you past it.
Right.
Everything you're there, it's like, oh man, what's gonna happen next? And like I said, you've seen the movie a lot, but you still want to watch it, and you
Yeah.
want to watch it again. And it's like, man, this shit's good. What are you gonna do again? I know it's gonna happen, but I still want to watch
Seen
it.
this a million times.
Yeah. I will say the ending, not my favorite, but it's clearly again coming from a father point of view, and it was like that was another half a point I had to take off.
Oh, wow.
Wait, dude. I mean, you've led this small group of people for this long, and yeah, okay, I get it. You gave it a chance. You really haven't, like you said, you know, you just stopped.
Yeah.
We
just ran out of gas.
Yeah, we just stopped. You didn't even give time before you started looking at everybody like, all right, Bob,
they're-
you go first.
And they're like, yes.
So we doing the
Yeah,
shit? Or?
and then everybody's just like, no, dude, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So if they would have added a little interlude where they're stopped and maybe a creature's coming toward them, or what would it do for you for that to be acceptable?
Well, I mean, I could understand. Look, if there's no way we're surviving, we can't fight this thing off or whatever, we're gonna die. there we go. You guys go, then I'm going to throw myself at this dude. Just take me.
Yeah.
Eat me. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah.
Stomp me, whatever you're going to do.
Stomp me.
Well, you see how big the things were. You know what I mean? Just step on me, whatever.
You know, all you would have to do for me, and I like this ending a lot.
I do too.
But I think all you would have to do for me is just make the car rumble a little.
Yeah, even that.
Just a little.
Because
Okay.
that gives you that.
It's coming, or it's
there's no
close.
point.
And
yeah.
if the road is full of tanks, it probably would rumble.
Right.
So that could be the thing that he thinks it's the monsters. It's the
Right.
fucking army coming to save him. And then it's even more of that. Oh my God, what
Yeah.
have I
Even
done?
worse. Even
But
worse.
there
even
was
worse.
there was nothing. He was just screaming, and then they came out of nowhere and he's
Twist
like,
and shout.
yeah. So for me, that's it. The movie, like I said, it like you said, nitpicky, whatever.
Right.
But it did just like you said, maybe a rumble or something.
Damn it! Now that you said that, I can't get it out of my head.
So, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? You didn't even Oh, and yeah, you didn't wait. You did it, and then you went outside, and you know what I mean, freaked out, and then
Why'd you do like a robot dance?
well, you know,
That was his
well,
interpretation.
yeah, you know, he freaks out, and then the army comes.
Yeah.
So why didn't you even just like you said, wait until that? It's like, come on, man, what are you doing? That's your son.
You're right, but in his mind, he's protecting him.
No, I get that. You know what I mean? I trust me, I understand. And even the kids, because the kids were watching it with me, they were like, well, why'd he do that? so I explained, I said, look, there's a monster. I said, would you rather this monster wake you up and you feel every pain from this thing eating your arms off of you, tearing you in half? I said, or you just be asleep and never wake up?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, I get it.
Yeah, but Billy wasn't asleep.
No, well,
No.
no, but I mean, he was kind of groggy, so I'm sure he was like, is he pointing a
like-
fucking gun?
Is this sleep paralysis?
Yeah. So on the scale from 1 to 10, expiation,
Expiation.
Expiation.
I'm going to give The Mist 9.
What?
I love the movie.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know it's nitpicky things. That's why it was only half a point. But dude did fall all, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of like, stop that.
That was so funny.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Like, it looks like
That's a serious ass
like
moment.
It
Buster
was.
Keaton or something.
Yeah.
Like that was
Silent film
yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
that was very funny.
I feel like I've already lauded this film with enough praise. I'd want to shout out the creature design one more time.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's something we haven't brought up at this little end segment. But I do feel like, especially after not just watching the film with commentary, but chatting about it a little bit more, there are things that I didn't really think I enjoyed that I've kind of come around on. Because before I rewatched it for the show, I had always kind of not been a fan of the cinematography.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, like I thought that, especially when you think of Frank Darabont and you see this like almost guerrilla filmmaking style
Yeah.
situation, you're like, I don't know. But after hearing about what he was going for and feeling, because I watched it twice for this,
All right.
feeling the second time that you're actually in the store with them,
Yeah.
I've come around on that.
So gorillas were filming it?
Yeah, man. You mean a gorilla film this? But so one of the negatives I had actually turned into a positive for me.
Right.
But I feel like there's some bits of dialogue that are a little too on the nose for me. And I think that there are some bits of CGI that I just can't forgive.
Yeah.
As good as a lot of it is, because there's a lot of stuff that's CGI that you wouldn't even expect to be.
Right.
No.
They did a lot of great work here. But I do think that I'm going to have to join the party and give this a hat trick. I was going to give it an 8.5, but
Yeah.
the more I think about the cinematography, the more I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hey.
And so I'm going to enjoy you. I'm going to join you in giving The Mist 9 expiations.
Expiations.
Out of 10.
Ding, 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 ding.
Right. Expiation.
We've done it.
Expiations.
Right.
We did. You know we had to do it again. It's just, I feel like this movie is so good and so underappreciated. And I kind of understand to a point. Like we were talking to Claire Sutton over on the Patreon and she was like, I can only watch it once.
Oh, yeah.
So it's so fucking bleak and depressing. And it's like, I get
Yeah.
it. Like it's a lot, but If you haven't seen it in a while, I'd say give it another shot. Or if you haven't seen it at all, even though we just ruined it, give it a shot. Well, that's all from us at Podmortem. What would you rate The Mist, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Twitter at @ThePodmortem. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Twitter at Blood and Smoke, at RealStreeter84, and at TravisMWH. Please consider pledging to our Patreon and stay tuned until after the music for a special shout out to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, never give up hope. Even when things seem their darkest, salvation may be just around the corner. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned for our special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Thank
Woo!
you.
Woo! Expiation!
Expiations. A very awesome word for a terrible thing.
A very special thank you to Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Melanie Van Houston, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent and Allison O'Morton, Guy 54, Lala Thomas, Travis and Nisa Hunter, Miguel Myers ATX, Mandy, Jennifer Perez, Pepperoni Pierre, Jacob Tyler, Carissa, TJ Bronson, Gabrielle Trevino, Spooky Mom, Andy Teague, and Applin Ontiveros. Thank each and every one of you so, so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I gotta say, it's been a week since the last time we released an episode, and I hope you missed us. You know?
The film
Yeah.
that we just talked about.
Homophone. Expiation.
Expiations.
Until next time.